You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion new single, my hater, the big better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million, the devil, that shit ain't not cheaper than again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the fourth part of What If Deku Enters Total Drama Island. Special note, this fanfic is written in a masterpiece of Firem 78910 on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. We see Harold in his Speedo ready to ski. Heather on the other hand decides to forego the wave jumper in favor of her tail, since she was now too big for the wave jumper. "You're way out of your league, Alpha Geek," Heather said. "Here's the road rules. Oh wait, there are no rules. Which means this is gonna be awesome," Chris said with a grin. "Yeah," Eri said. Soon they were giving the signal to go as Heather began slithering away. But Harold's quirks proves invaluable as he managed to get 5 flags. "Rah, that's impossible," Heather shouted. "Heather has to cross the finish line or she will be disqualified, and if she does it would mean victory for the killer base." Heather saw the finish line and only had one thought. "Okay, time to cut the dorkwad loose," Heather thought as she took out the knife and was about to cut the cord only for a stray branch to catch her top and ripped it off, revealing her boobs to the world. Heather saw this and covered herself, though it had unintended effects, which is Harold crashing into a rock, dropping his flags. Everyone got an eyeful of Heather's boobs, even Izuku, but something else happened. I think Ochako's boobs are nicer," Izuku said before he shuts his mouth, and the boys laugh and Ochako blushes. Confessional booth. Beep. Ochako still blushing. "Well, I don't know whether I should be flattered or embarrassed." "Well, okay, I very flattered that Izuku thinks my boobs are better than that bitch's saggy bags of fat," Ochako said. "I can't believe I did that," Izuku said as covers his blushing face. Beep. "Okay, well, I did not expect, especially from the cinnamon roll of all people, but still at least that means the base suffers a total wipeout," Chris said as Harold mumbles the word boobies. Soon it was Lindsay's and Duncan's turn. This was a mess as Lindsay used her newfound smarts to gain the flags. Duncan tried to blast her with his plasma blasts, but in the end Lindsay had won for the Gophers, while Duncan landed on a tree. Lashana hugged Lindsay while DJ patted Jeff's back. "I really could have used that shower, bro," Jeff said. DJ took one sniff and agreed with Jeff. "Right, you are my skunky friend," DJ said. Confessional booth. Beep. "So I landed in a pile of socks. Big deal. I can't stink that bad, can I?" Jeff asked. As if to answer his own question, the flies around Jeff died. "Well, Jeff said. Beep. The base team went belly up and will now decide which fishy to flush, while the Gophers scored some much-needed showers," Chris said as Lashana and Lindsay leave the shower all nice and clean. Later that night. Campfire ceremony. Once again, it was time for the campfire ceremony, as Chris brings a plate of 6 marshmallows. "As you know, if you do not receive a marshmallow, you will be forced to walk the dock of shame and you can never ever return to camp," Chris said as he passes the marshmallows. Bridget, DJ who was hold a platinum base, Eva, Katie, "You're safe," Chris said as he passes off the marshmallows. Then with megaphone in hand. "Jeff, you're safe as well," Chris said as he tosses the marshmallow at him. "Muchos luchos compater," Jeff said as he catches his treat. That leaves Harold and Duncan. Harold because he saw Heather's boobs, and Duncan for losing to a super smart Lindsay despite being able to fire freaking plasma of all things, Chris said. What can I say, the girl is determined, she deserves her platinum gopher," Duncan said with a shrug. "Which why you get the last marshmallow," Chris said as he gives Duncan his marshmallow. Harold doesn't seem to be fussy about this, all things considered. "Harold, sorry dude, you're done like dinner," Chris said as Harold got his things. "Well, it's been fun guys," Harold said as he high-fives the other base. As he was about to get on the loser boat, he turns around. "Farewell Total Drama Island," I loved, I lost, and I saw boobies. What more can a man ask for? Harold said. You loved? Gwen said. You're a man, Lashana said. You saw boobies? Bridget said. Lashana, I meant every word in that poem, Harold said. Poem that was you? Lashana said as she puts 2 and 2 together. The both of them rushed towards one another. Baby, you're some kind of freaky, Lashana said as she hugs Harold. Give daddy some sugar, Harold said as they kiss. The rest of the campers were in awe while Harold was taken away by Chef. Confessional booth. Beep. Lashana and Harold, I was as shocked as you. Bet you didn't read the letters. Ha, spicy, Chef said as he rubbed his hands. Oh my, I hope you brought protection for the other campers, Inko said with blushes. Of course I did. Teenagers are the horniest creatures on the planet, Chris said. Beep. As Lashana walked back, he realized what Harold had said. Hold up, who's Heather? Lashana said as she sees Heather coming out of the shower, sees Lashana, and fires a glob of web at her, trapping her. Heather, you fucking snake, I swear I'm gonna kill you and turn your skin into a pair of boots, Lashana shouted. Whatever, bitch, what happened was a goddamn fluke that your boy Toy saw my boobs, Heather said as she slithered away. With Izuku and Ochako. Izuku and Ochako were at the forest holding hands. Izuku also has a big black box, and after a bit they stop. Izuku opens the box to reveal a bassoon. Izuku started playing. It wasn't an epic song or anything, it was something he put together. Ochako listened intently. The two stayed together for a bit before going back to their cabin. Quirk Masters. Heather. Quirk name, red-backed lamia. Quirk type, mutation. Quirk description. This mutation quirk allows Heather to use the aspects of the Black Widow spider and a lamia. This is actually a combination quirk of Heather's mother's. She can spit venom, has sharp claws, larger breasts, and enhanced strength. However, she is weak to low temperatures and solutions meant to kill spiders. Harold. Quirk name, Taskmaster. Quirk type, emitter. Quirk description. This quirk allows Harold to replicate the physical skills, be it combat or athletic, of anyone he observes. This quirk shares many similar effects to Marvel's Taskmaster. However, it requires that Harold concentrate. Disrupt the concentration and you destruct the quirk. Duncan. Quirk name, Plasmakinesis. Quirk type, emitter. Quirk description. Allows Duncan to create, shape, and manipulate plasma, a state of matter consisting of fully ionized gas of low density containing an approximately equal number of positive ions and electrons. He can use it as beams, shields, and constructs. However, Duncan can power down due to overuse. Lindsay. Quirk name, Hyperintelligence. Quirk type, mutation. Quirk description. Grants Lindsay an intelligence on par with multiple quirkless geniuses. Oddly enough, she is immune to blows to her head. However, when the quirk is restricted by, say, a quirk restriction bracelet, she develops into a model example of a stereotypical dumb blonde. This effect is negated if the bracelet is removed. Last time on Total Drama Island, the remaining campers went off on a challenge that took them to the extreme, even with Uravity breaking her arm and Deku handling a rabid moose. The Gophers won the challenge. We also got to see 4 of the campers' quirks, Chris said with a smile. Shows scenes where Ochako broke her arm and Izuku rode on a moose. Some were surprising, Chris said. Shows scenes of Harold using Taskmaster and Lindsay showing off her intelligence. Others not so much, Chris said. Scenes of Duncan using plasmakinesis and Heather showing off red-backed lamia. But in the end, it was Harold who crashed right off the island after catching the sights of Heather's melons. But not before confessing to the fair Lashana. Also, our resident cinnamon roll stated that Ochako's breasts were better than Heather's even in her quirked form. Now let's see what's in store for the campers in this episode of, Chris said as he does the last part of the intro. Total Drama Island. Play intro. The sun rises on a new day where the Sympholan Canadian geese fly across the sky. The 13 remaining campers enter the camp lounge. As they entered, they noticed something was missing. "Hun, no breakfast?" Owen said. "Oh, don't worry, bro, there will be plenty of food later on," Chris said as both he and Chef chuckled. Eri was there as well, wearing a little chef hat. Lashana noticed this. "What are you two so giggly about?" Lashana asked. Only for Chris and Chef to ignore her. But then he looked at the campers. "Congratulations to the 13 remaining campers for reaching the halfway point in the competition," Chris announced as both teams cheered. Izuku and Ochako hugged each other in joy. "You'll all be on the jury for the final episode," Chris said as the cheers became louder. "We got the power, yeah," Jeff shouted as he raised his fist in the air. "The two teams will become one next week," Chris said as both teams realized that it was the end for the Killer Base and Screaming Gophers, which means everyone will be gunning for the $100,000. But first, all girls will go to the Gopher cabin while the guys goes to the base cabin, Chris said as Izuku and Ochako looked at one another and nodded. Confessional booth. Beep. "Well, Izuku was right about the split being soon at the very least our alliance at least until we reach the final episode," Ochako said. "The girls outnumber us 8-5. But I think we can win this especially since I got Ochako by my side," Izuku said with a smile. Beep. "Alright, today's challenge is as old as history itself, the battle of the sexes," Chris said with a grin. Duncan winked while Lindsay blew a raspberry. "After you guys are settled in, I'll announce the challenge and then you'll have a bite to eat," Chris said as both he and Chef began chuckling again. This made both Izuku's and Ochako's instincts to go haywire, knowing full well to not trust Chris's words. They looked at each other and nodded. Ready for a bit of good news. "No eliminations this week, meaning no one's getting kicked off," Chris said as the campers' cheers were louder. All of the campers save for Izuku and Ochako were cheering. The latter two instincts were screaming at them to not trust him. "It's all for reward and it's a good one," Chris said as the cheering became louder. "Izuku, this smells like a trap," Ochako whispered. "I know we'll need to play it by ear," Izuku said. "Okay, time to relocate. Let's move," Chris said as the campers began the move. After they leave, the pair chuckle again. With the young heroes, Izuku had just finished packing and ready to leave. Izuku, can I stay in this bunk?" Ochako said with a tiny blush as points to Izuku's old bunk. "Why, yeah you can," Izuku said with a blush of his own. "Thank you." Izuku, what should I do for the girls' side?" Ochako said. Izuku looked around and then he gives her a walkie-talkie. "I have the other one with these, you can spy on the girls," Izuku said. "Oh, but just one thing, where did you get this?" Ochako asked as she points to the walkie-talkie in her hand. "Duncan, in exchange that I give him his entry of my quirk analysis," Izuku said. "Of course it would be that. But with this, I think we can make this work. Hopefully that bitch of a snake doesn't stop us," Ochako said. "Yeah, also I'm sorry for, Izuku said. It took Ochako a few seconds before blushing. "Oh no, it's okay, Izuku. I don't mind you looking at them," Ochako said, for a few seconds before realizing what she had said. Oh damn it all," Ochako said. Can I look at them?" Izuku nervously said. Not here, but when we get out of this island," Ochako said. She had given Izuku a promise. "Well, I got to go and thank you, Acha-chan," Izuku said with a smile. Izuku left, but just before he did he gives Ochako a peck on the cheek. Izuku runs off, leaving a blushing Ochako. "Ooh dang, that silly boy, you better confess to me soon," Ochako said, letting her Kansai accent comes out. She then decides to check on the rest of the girls, only to blink when she sees Heather arguing with Lashana. "What happened here?" Ochako asked. "Oh, Heather being the usual bitch, nothing new," Gwen said. "Oh sweet, I'm guessing she'll try to make sides and stuff," Ochako said. "No, she's trying to convince Bridget to join her alliance," Gwen said. Well, anyway, I'll be next door if you need me," Ochako said. "Hold up, next door," Gwen said with a raised eyebrow. Yeah, you do know that the cabins consist of 2 rooms when we were still the base and Gophers, right?" Ochako said, causing all of the girls to stop. Confessional booth. Beep. Lindsay facepalms. Beep. Gwen facepalms. Beep. Lashana facepalms. Beep. Eva facepalms. Beep. Katie facepalms. Beep. Really, girls? Did you girls seriously forget about that? I mean, we had the boys next door. Ochako said as she pinches the bridge of her nose. Okay, I feel really stupid as a quirk-restricted Lindsay, Heather said as she facepalms. Welp, I just confirmed that the trope of girls being bitchy in a group is real. Makes me wonder if the whole trope of guys getting along instantly is real, Bridget said. Before she forget, she facepalms as well. Beep. With the guys. After settling in, the guys were having a bit of a party, but it was mostly them listening to music and having sodas. Izuku drank his soda as he worked on Heather's entry, mostly about her weaknesses when he burped. Izuku was a bit embarrassed about, but the other boys took it a challenge. First was DJ, his burp was good and a bit better than Izuku's. The second was Duncan, who did a moderate burp. The third, Owen, who burp was quite loud. The last one to go was Jeff. He took a deep breath and let it loose. Burp. Jeff released a burp so powerful that it not only shook the cabin, but also knocked down several trees and cracked several stones. It reminded Izuku of Present Mike's quirk, considering it knocked down a few trees and broke stone. Okay, if it weren't for the fact that you had your QR bracelet on, I would have called you a cheater, Duncan said. It kind of reminds me of a quirk one of my teachers has, Izuku said. All right then, I say we make Jeff captain and Izuku as his number 2, DJ said. Thanks also here, Duncan, Izuku said as he gave Duncan his entry. He looks at it, then smiles. Why haven't thought of that, Duncan said with a grin. The other guys demand a speech and Jeff gives one. I owe it all to my big bro back home for showing me how to pull back and let her rip, Jeff said as he gave out another burp. The boys cheer. Izuku, I trust you to keep the moral up, my broccoli-headed dude, Jeff said. Izuku smiles and thanks him. Those chicks are going down, Jeff said as the boys cheered as they showed off their unity. With the girls. With the girls, however, there was discord as the girls were divided into two. Those that side with Heather and those that didn't, and thanks to Ochako saying that there was another room next door helped things along. Okay, I felt pretty dumb for not seeing this room. Thanks, Ochako, Gwen said. You're welcome, Gwen, but still, as much as I don't want to admit it, we need to work with Heather to win, at least until the split, Ochako said as the girls reluctantly nod. Yeah, Lord know what Chris is up to, Eva said. I couldn't get Chef to tell anything, Katie said. Shame, but we'll need to roll with the punches, plus Ultra, Ochako said and the other girls nodded. With Heather. Ugh, I hate it that Ochako is right, Heather said. Yeah, Ochamlo has a point, Lindsay said. But until then, Heather said as Chris calls for them. Camp Lounge. Everyone went in the camp lounge as Chris announced that it was time for the next challenge. Where's breakfast at? Lashana asked as Chris and Chef chuckled. Stop doing that, Heather said, having enough of the two chuckling. Let's just tell them that today's challenge is the bunch of disgustingness, Chris said. This made the campers gasp as Chris shows them a bunch of covered plates. You'll be getting a 9-course meal. Each member of each team must finish each dish, Chris said. Eri stuck her tongue out, knowing that this will be gross. You will not know if the next dish is grosser than the last, not as gross or just as gross, just that it will be likely be gross, Chris said with a grin. Oh, Chris, tell them what they will win, Eri said in an excited tone. Okay, little narwhal. The winning team spends at local 5-star resort where they will be pampered, eat gourmet nosh, and get antibiotics against anything they have caught while participating in this challenge, Chris said. I'll be there as well along in Koba, Eri said with a smile. The losing team will go hungry tonight, get treatment, and spend time with Chef for the next 2 days, Chris said as Chef grins wide like a psychopath. The camper, but Heather being Heather, is determined to win. We are going to win this challenge, Heather said. Confessional booth. Beep. Okay, hopefully we can win this and ease the tension. I mean, I'll try anything once expect for any land-based meat. I can't eat land-based meat, Bridget said. I've seen the dishes that they're going to serve. Lord have mercy on my son and his future girlfriend, Inko said as she prays. Beep. All of the campers are seated ready for the challenge. Then Lashana took a big whiff. Take a whiff, boys, 'cause I smell victory for me and my girls, Lashana said. I'll eat anything, even my shit-stained underwear. Do I have to? Owen said as he pulls up a pair of dirty underwear. Let's begin the challenge. First, hors d'oeuvres, Chris said. The covers are lifted to reveal meatballs. Oh hell yeah, meatballs, Owen said as he ate his plate. Everyone looks at the meatballs with a grain of salt. Ochako did notice her plate has a larger portion. She looks at Chef. What I told you, I would be giving you a bigger portion until Dr. Lawson deems you well, Chef said. Okay, fair enough, Ochako said as she begins eating. Well, technically, you're right, Owen, but these are kinda special, Chris said. Chef lifts one and with a smile says, It's beef testicle bourguignon, Chef said. Everyone gasped as they realized what they were. Testicles, Owen said as he barfs on DJ. Ochako, however, had finished her plate. What? They were good, Ochako said. Everyone, especially the boys, were shocked at this. The girls decide to take Ochako's lead and eat the meatballs. The boys, on the other hand, couldn't help but not eat them. Oh, I don't know if I can't do this to my bovine bro, Jeff said. I agree with you, Jeff, Izuku said as he picks one up, closes his eyes, and eats it. Owen does the same, and DJ even cries on his plate. It's the hardest thing a man can do, Chris said as even he shudders. Confessional booth. Beep. Judging by the way the guys were reacting to the dish, I knew we could win the round, Heather said. Beep. Heather decides to take a big bite of the testicles, scaring the boys. Ochako eats another because she found the dish delicious. Lindsay has some difficulties, but she keeps telling herself it's for the resort. What's the matter? Heather asked. You big boys can't eat a little meatball? Say, Chef, can I have the recipe? Ochako said as finishes her second plate. Chef nods. Come on, we can't let the girls win. Our manhoods is at stake, Jeff said as the boys rallied. But it was not to be as the girls won. After the round, the boys began arguing until Chris blew on a whistle loudly. Are we here to argue, or are we here to eat a series of revolting meals? Chris said as the guys made up. Confessional booth. Beep. It's official, the trope is real, Bridget said. Beep. The score now stands at 1 for the girls and 0 for the guys. And now, the next course in the brunch of disgustingness. So you guys like pizza? Chris said. I could eat pizza anytime with anything on it, Owen said. Anything? Chris said with a grin. I summoned Murphy again, didn't I? Owen said. How about live grasshopper pizza with tangy jellyfish sauce and live anchovies? Chris said as he reveals the said pizza. I hate anchovies, Lindsay said in disgust. Everyone just looked at her as if she grew a second head. What? Oh, look at me in the eye and tell that you like anchovies, Lindsay said. No one looked at her in the eye. That what I thought, Lindsay said as she eats the pizza. Okay, I can't do this. That is just nasty, Lashana said. Oh yes, you are. I'm not missing a heated pool just because you can't handle a few grasshoppers, Heather said as she ate her pizza in a single bite. As much as I hate Heather, she's right. Right now I'm digesting a bull's precious cojones, so Lashana, you're gonna eat, Gwen said. Fine, I'll eat, Lashana said as she was about to eat it. Only for a grasshopper to jump on her hair. Okay, no, I can't do this, the little grasshopper minding his own business. What I want to go and bite his little head off for, Lashana said as she cost the girls the second round. The winners of this round are the guys, Chris said as the guys cheer. The girls glare at Lashana. Damn it, Lashana cursed. All right, who's ready for the third course? Chris said as he revealed the third dish. Chef chuckled at this. Spaghetti? Well, actually it's earthworms covered in snail sauce and hairballs, Chris said. Nope, Jeff said as he runs off. Izuku was about to run, but DJ intervened and said that he got this. After a few minutes he comes back with Jeff and they make their plans. Said plan was to cover their eyes and use a clothespin. The boys eats it and they beat the girls. And once again the winners are the guys, Chris said as the boys cheer. Come on, guys. Let's show them some girl power, Bridget said. Yeah, Bridget's right. Let's kick some boy ass, Gwen said. Yeah, just like I've been saying all along, Heather said as she receives deadpan stares. Confessional booth. Beep. I was excited about the next dish. I made it from scratch, Chef said as he scratches his ass. Beep. All right, everybody. Time for course number 4. No 9-course meal would be complete without soup. Today's special is French bunion soup with hangnail crackers, Chris said as he shows the disgusting soup. Oh, call me above, Izuku said as Iri looked green. Confessional booth. Beep. Okay, I think they just used stuff from Chef's bathroom floor, Jeff said. Well, yeah, they did, but also from Chris's and Daniel's bathrooms as well, Chef said. Beep. Okay, we can do this, right, Eva, Katie said. I don't know about you, but I've already finished mine, Eva said. Oh, Katie said as she drinks her soup. Soon they all drank the soup, even Lindsay, though they used a funnel, giving the girls another point. The score is now tied up at 2, Chris said as the girls cheer. Confessional booth. Beep. I think the girls really made a breakthrough as a team, Bridget said with a smile that the girls are working together. Beep. Only 5 more courses left, bon appetit, Chris said with a bow. What followed up next was a montage at the tune of Paul Stanley's song of Live to Win. You gotta eat. Eat. Eat to win. Chef gave Gwen a ball of chewed up that he chewed himself. The boys, however, get the point. Don't let them gross you out. Don't let them push you down. Stand up tall and say you can. Chef serves up a stunk juice milkshake to Lindsay. She gags at the drink but helps the girls gain a point. You gotta eat. Eat. Eat to win. The next course was just a sandal with a smiley face on it. Every got the same thing, except Ochako, whom had a leather boot instead. Because of this, the boys won. Ooh, you gotta eat. Eat to win. The 8th course is garbage gumbo. Surprisingly, however, against all odds, the girls won. It was long and arduous, but in the end, it was another tie. Wow, it's still tied up. We're down to the last course in the challenge, Chris said, not believing they're still going strong. Chris looks at them, and he knew that they were about to puke. Well, then it's time for the last course, Chris said as revealed the last dish, which consisted of jars, 3 of them for Ochako. What's this? Heather said. The boss put this specific dish since eating dolphin and eating them is illegal, Chris said as he mumbled about his supplier and cannibals. Oh God, Bridget said as she covered his mouth. DJ is getting green. Instead, we will be using a dish that is actual edible, but still good for the challenge, Chris said. Whatever, bring it on, Heather said. Soon everyone opened their jars only for the smell of death to smash their noses like a United States of Smash. Oh my effing God, Heather shouted as she covers her nose. What the F McLean, Duncan shouted. Oh, in the name of Jesus Christ Almighty, DJ said. Nanny the F, Jeff said. Eewoowa, it stinks, Iri said as she covers her nose. You know, I'm glad we didn't for the dolphin wieners, cause this is fucking awesome, Chris said. As for what the dish is, it's fermented durian, Chef said. So everyone looked at their food, and this time it was Ochako who took the first bite. After biting and chewing it, her eyes widen. Hey, this isn't half bad, Ochako said with a smile, and she ate them happily. Everyone decides to do the same, and they like it. Owen and Ochako ate all of their food, as so did the other campers. It ended with another tie. Well, thank God I have a tiebreaker just in case this happened. Chef, get the shot glasses. Lashana, Owen with me, Chris said. A few minutes later, Lashana and Owen were next to each other with 15 shot glasses on a tray. All right then, whoever can drink the most shot glasses of fresh blended cockroaches will be the winner. This unlikely satisfying of 8 different cockroaches is vitamin rich for your balanced lifestyle, Chris said. Both campers are ready. On your marks, get set, go, Chris said as the campers start drinking the roach shots. As they drink, they begin to cringe at the taste of cockroach, but after they reached 6 shots, Lashana stopped. Owen on the other drank the last 3. Lashana is saddened while Owen simple raises his arms and then faints. Owen wins the challenge, Chris said. The boys cheer at their victory. The girls were sad, but Heather is pissed. Lashana, you are completely fucking useless, Heather shouted. Lashana's stomach starts rumbling. Oh no, something is coming up. Lashana as she barfs. This sets off a chain reaction where all of the campers and staff vomit. Not even the heroes and Iri were safe. Especially Ochako, since all of her portions were bigger. Oh God, Ochako said as she projectile vomits rainbows. Papa, I don't feel good. Blarg, Iri said as she vomits. Then Duncan and Jeff vomit at the camera. Only Chris managed to keep his stomach down. Sometime later, after everyone gets cleaned up, the boys got ready for the spa trip. Iri and Inko went with them. Chris does the outrow like always. The guys are the big winners, Chris said. We see the guys leave on the ship. And the girls go on their separate ways. 2 definite cliques have been cemented for now, Chris said. This time we see the girls going to their rooms. But at the end of the room we see Ochako at the window pining for Izuku. What shocking surprises are in store for our campers next week as they head for the big merge, Chris said. Then we see Izuku looking out the window pining for Ochako. Tune in on, Chris said as he does the final part of the outro and the boat leaves. Totaldrama Island. With Izuku. Aka said, I'm going to confess as we get back, Izuku said. Oh, I'm so happy for you, Izuku, Inko said. Yay, it one step closer of Ochako being my mama, Iri said. Izuku blushed a bit, but he smiled. Interlude 1. Today we see Izuku and the rest of the boys from TDI at the 5-star resort. Izuku was getting a massage from a very sexy woman. But rather than flirting with then young man, she was worried. Good lord, for someone so young, you have some serious scars, the masseuse said. A combination of me getting bullied and apparently illegal hero work, Izuku said. Are you Japanese by any chance? The masseuse asked. I am, and I'm currently looking into the RPA to see what I can do, Izuku said as he moaned as he relaxed. Good, though I'm pretty sure that the hero school will be shut down, the masseuse said. Izuku would have in any other time defended Yue, but as he read the Robin Protection Act and thought about everything that Yue did. The first thing was the entrance exam. The robots could have killed people, especially the zero-pointers. Those things should have been in the arsenals of the Japanese self-defense forces. The second thing is the USG. As Izuku researched the RPA, he found out 2 things. 1, Universal Studios was still a thing, and 2, they had tried to sue Yue multiple times, but always failed or settled out of court. Izuku suspects that the HPSC interfered. Numbers 3 and 4 was the UA Sports Festival and the internships. The UA Sports Festival was always compared to the Olympics of the pre-quirk era. There is just one little problem in that comparison. The Olympics were still a thing, or rather the Heroes Olympics, where heroes from around the world would compete to honor their nations, except for 4 nations, with Japan being one of them. Another problem is that they illegally televise the festival. From what Izuku read, it is illegal for hero schools to televise their school activities, though it show the school's strength, but it would also shows villains the capabilities of the students, thus giving them an advantage. The internships, that was a mess and a half. Had the RPA had been enforced, Ida would have never been allowed a centimeter in Hasu, let alone any hero working at Hasu. Finally, the summer camp. It should have never happened. They should just let the students go on vacations. And that was just the major issues. There were still the minor ones. But all in all, it would result in one thing: US shutting down. Izuku didn't want to accept it, but it was going to occur whether Izuku wanted it or not. Though one question still bothered Izuku. How was Yue not shut way earlier? Izuku mumbled. But oddly enough, the masseuse answered. Oh, that's kid, it was Star and Stripes, the masseuse said. The number 1 hero of the USA? Izuku asked. Yup, rumors have said that the US government hires pirates to quite sack the US on days where the Neo-Un would inspect the country. Star and Stripes would use her quirk New Order to stop all ships, including the Neo-Un ships, and were forced to turn back, the masseuse said. Izuku's eyes widened as he listened to the masseuse. That actually made sense, but he knew that sooner or later Japan will change. Well, your massage is done. I'd recommend that you visit the on-site hospital where you can heal your wounds and scars. My quirk metascanner is showing worrying amount of microfractures, especially around the arms and shins. The masseuse said. He knows why and explains about the injuries he received and recovery girl hitting her shins. How old is she? The masseuse asked. I think she's in her 60s or 70s, Izuku said. The masseuse nodded and sent Izuku on his way. He went to the hospital. A doctor rushed towards him, took him to a room, and used his quirk to heal him, and it was a healing quirk like recovery girl's, but unlike her, his quirk doesn't require a stamina payment. To make a long story short, it healed his body and his bones. And by heal, he meant they healed to their pre-1 for all state. As it turns out, his shins also has microfractures as well. Those are gone as well. He was probably going to go to another doctor. After that happened, Izuku told his mom what had happened. She went to the doctor to speak to him. He then runs into DJ and Bunny, who was playing with Eri and Deku in the pool. Yo, Izuku, you alright, man? DJ said. Oh yeah, I was thinking about what I'll do for school, Izuku said. So you realize that UA is going to be shut down? DJ said. Izuku nods at DJ. That obvious, it was my dream school. I've always dreamed of going there and I'm bummed out, but after thinking about the blatant illegal things that had happened, it surprises me how UA wasn't shut down years ago, Izuku said. Yeah, but anyway, how about we talk about something else, like a certain girl you like, DJ said. I've made my choice about that. I'm gonna confess to Ochako as soon as we return, plus effing ultra, Izuku said. Yay, Ochako will be my mama, Eri said in cheer. Izuku blushed but was determined. Good for you, man, DJ said. Thanks, man. Are you having fun, Eri? Izuku said as Eri nods. Izuku decides to play with Eri for a bit. After a while, he decides to go check on Jeff and Duncan. He soon finds them leaving the sauna. Damn, that felt great, right, Jeff? Duncan said with a grin. Yeah, bro. Oh, Izuku, how are you, man? Jeff said as he waved. Hey, Jeff. Duncan, I'm just checking up on you, Izuku said. Whatever, also your ideas work, Duncan said as he used his quirk to make a plasma sword. Jeff and Izuku were amazed by this. Awesome, dude. Maybe I'll ask Izuku to make one for me, Jeff said. Just let me know, okay, Izuku said as Jeff nods. So I heard on the grapevine that you're asking about UA and that you're going to confess to a certain doll-faced girl, Duncan said. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm bummed out, but I need to accept it. UA is going to be shut down, Izuku said as Jeff pats him on the back. Don't worry, little dude, you'll be a pro hero in a few years, Jeff said as Izuku nods. Thanks, Jeff, I'll need to check on Owen now, Izuku said as he leaves. But after a moment he turns around. Yeah, I'm gonna confess to Ochako as soon as we get back, Izuku said. Izuku leaves to go find Owen as Jeff and Duncan fist bump and smile. A few minutes later. Finding Owen was too easy, he just finds him eating actual food. Owen looks at Izuku and smiles. Hey, Izuku, having fun here? Owen asked. Yeah, I am, and you? Izuku said. Doing great, I'm enjoying the food, Owen said with a grin. I'm glad. So anything had happened here? Izuku asked. Not much, just enjoying the food. How about you? Owen said. Just checking on the guys, though it makes me wonder what happens with the girls, Izuku said. As Izuku thinks about this, he goes back to his mom and thinks about how he would confess to Ochako. Interlude 2. What are they doing, the girls? We see the girls at the island basically doing nothing. Well, not really. They and Chef are hiding in fear as Ochako is tearing through the forest in rage. Which was not surprising considering Ochako decides to study the RPA. This leads to Ochako finding out about the government-mandated stipends. The result was obvious. So anyone wants to calm her down? Heather asked. They gave her deadpan looks. Okay, fair enough. But seriously, what do we do? Heather said. How about we sick Chef at her? Lindsay said. The other girls looked at Lindsay and they face-bombed. Okay, Chef? Gwen asked. All right, I'll take care of it, Chef said as he tackles Ochako. Both of them began to fight. It was furious, chaotic, and destructive. Damn, and I thought I had anger issues, Eva said with wide eyes as Ochako does a German suplex to Chef. Chef strikes back with a haymaker. Sooner or later, however, the fight ends. Both of them breathed heavily. So girl, a draw? Chef asked. Yeah, a draw. Ochako said, now calm down. Goth girl, get hero girl some water now, Chef shouted as Gwen did just that. Bridget and Katie come up to Ochako. Say Ochako, you okay? Katie said. Ochako took a deep breath and sighs. Yeah, I'm fine, but I'm still pissed though, Ochako said. I get it from what you told us about your life, I don't blame you, Bridget said. Yeah girl again, we don't blame you, Leshana said. Thanks girls, I needed that. Especially you Chef, thank you, Ochako said. No problem girl, you needed it, Chef said. How about we just get some drinks? Gwen said as she came back with a cup of water. Yeah, I guess we should, Ochako said as she drank the water. They decide to get drinks. Chef also decides that the girls deserved some real food, maybe fried chicken today. With drinks and chicken with hand, they had some fun. So Ochako, any idea when getting your man? Leshana asked. Ochako smiled. When Izuku gets back, Ochako said with a smile. The girls cheered except Heather Huron. Even Chef smiled as they ate. Interlude 3. What are they doing, Yua? We find ourselves in the Yua dorms where shototodoroki is throwing away a box. One side of the box said, evidence that izukumidoriya is All Might's son. Stupid ass inheritance quirk, all of my theories led to All Might being Izuku's father. It was all there. Shoto grumbled. At that instant Momo placed her hand on his Shoto's shoulder. It's okay Shoto, to be honest your theory lines up extremely well, Momo said, comforting Shoto. I know it still sucks ass, Shoto said as he throws away the box. There's Shoto, how about I get some cold soba, okay? Momo said. Thank you Momo, Shoto said. The both of them as they went back to the dorms. As they came back they saw that Mina, Shiro, Denki, Ijiro were ignoring Bakugou. Ever since the revelation of Bakugou's behavior, the Baka squad has broken up, leaving Bakugou isolated, which is well deserved for what he had to Izuku. He had helped him get past his own barriers, and it was thanks to him that he can use his fire. He's helped him and Ida during the stain incident. He is smart, helpful, and a prime example of what being a hero is. Hello Mina, how are you? Momo said. Ashido, Shoto said. Hey yeah Momo, Todoroki, what you doing? Mina with a wiggle of her eyebrows. We just throwing away my theories, Shoto said. Oh oof. Yeah, I can't blame you for being bummed out, Mina said, knowing that Shoto believed that All Might was Izuku's father. That was until All Might himself spilled the beans about one for all and all for one. It was a shit show and a half. Midoriya had this burden for over a year. Good lord, this shouldn't have happened in the first place. Holy shit, Mina said with wide eyes. What's wrong Mina? Ijiro asked. I can now see why the RPA says that heroes' school are to be unis, Mina said. Everyone mumbled about that. So what do we do when Yua is shut down? Shoto said. Note, Shoto said, when not if, as if Yua shutting down was a certainty. Which might as well be. Well shit, I don't know man, Shiro said. Gah, I can't believe it, this shit, Denki said. Hey Denki, what's wrong? Mina asked. Well, Mom said I could be a pro hero if I can graduate college, Denki said. That doesn't sound bad, Momo said. She wants me to work in an electrical plant, which I don't want to, Denki said. Then don't. We don't know if we're being kicked out, Momo said as Denki nods. Thanks Momo. How about we talk about our cinnamon rolls? Denki asked. Yeah, I hope they get together soon, Mina said with glee. I hope Ochako is okay because of that brunch, Ijiro said. Please don't mention the word brunch in front of me, Momo said as she holds back her bile. I like Iri's hats. Momo, make more hats, Shiro said. I will. Iri was so cute doing the Thriller dance, Momo said, gushing at Iri's cuteness. Soon they began talking about Total Drama Island. Soon the rest of Class 1 arrives. And Bakugou left as the group got bigger. But then the next episode begins to start. Last time on Total Drama Island, The Base and Gopher teams were disbanded into a battle of the Sexies challenge that put their taste buds to the puke test. With bovine testicles, live bug insect pizza, and liquid roach juice on the menu, not only was this the biggest wretch fest this host has ever seen, but Owen's obscene appetite paid off and scored a big win for his compards. Chris said. Really, dude? Daniel said with an annoyed look. Chris gave him a flat look. You're lucky that I can't fire you, Chris said. After fixing his hair for a bit, he continues. Anyway, while the guys set sails on a weekend retreat aboard the SS Lap O Luxury, the girls would have set up territories if Ochako didn't mention the other room. That was right next door. I mean, seriously, there was an empty room next door. Anyway, you'll have to find that out on the most exciting episode yet on. Chris said as he does the last part of the intro. Total Drama Island. Play intro. We find the girls relaxing at the campgrounds, but the situation is tense. Heather and Lindsay were reading magazines. Lashana was loudly eating chips. Ochako practiced her martial arts with Eva. Katie was fixing her hair while Gwen wrote on her diary and Bridget maintained her surfboard. There was an aura of mistrust between the Heather and Ochako factions, the factions made after the brunch ended. All of them were silent until a fly flew to Heather's nose. But just as Heather was about to kill it, Lindsay hits Heather with her magazine. Oops, sorry, Lindsay said. Lindsay, you are a total, Heather said as a loud boat horn cut her off. Heather covered her mouth, but then saw that the SS Lap O Luxury returned to Camp Wawanakwa. The four boys dancing along the while Izuku, Inko, and Eri were waiting to get off the boat. Some of the girls were pissed, except Ochako, who saw Izuku again. Oh, sweet mother of mirth. You can't buy that kind of fun, Owen said with a smile on his face. I think Owen and DJ took a real shine to those lovely ladies who served us hand and foot, Duncan said with a grin of his own. Hello, the spa treatments? My alligator elbows, totally gone, DJ said as he showed off his elbows. Ooh, like velvet, Owen said as he felt the brick house's elbows. Unsurprisingly, this pissed off Lashana greatly. Confessional booth. Beep. PSSH. Those should have been my alligator elbows getting the hand and foot treatment, Lashana angrily said. I had a lot of fun over there. I feel very pretty, Eri said with a smile. Beep. Eri rushed up to the girls and offered them some candy. They reluctantly accept them as to not to make Eri cry. Izuku walks up to Ochako and hugs her. Ochako notices Izuku's lack of scars. Izuku, your scars? Ochako said, surprised to not see Izuku's scars. Oh, there was a doctor that healed me without the stamina costs, Izuku said. Wow, that's good, Izuku. So are your bones okay now? Ochako said as Izuku nods. Yeah, in fact, they're restored to the point that I got my quirk. Oh, I also might sue Recovery Girl, Izuku said. How, why? Ochako asked, dumbfounded at his declaration. It turns out there were a lot of micro-fractures on my shins and skull, Izuku said. Ochako was getting mad, but Izuku hugs her, causing her to blush. I brought a lot of snacks for us, Izuku said, showing Ochako a bunch of snacks. Ochako grins. But then Chris ruins the moment. Listen now, as of right now, all teams are officially dissolved. From here on in, it's every camper for themselves, Chris said from a speaker. Oh ho ho, I am feeling that. Bring it on, Chris, Lashana said, ready to take on any challenge. Then get ready for this, Chris announced as a boat horn sounds. Everyone looked at the oncoming boat with wide eyes. What? But that's impossible, Heather said with wide eyes as Lindsay pinches her. Nanny, but how? Izuku shouted. To be fair, I thought he died, Gwen said, surprised. That makes two of us, goth girl, Duncan said. Back by popular audience demand, it's Cody, Chris said as the boat transports a fully healed Cody. Hey guys, I'm back, Cody said as he got off the boat. Okay, I know for a fact that he was medevaced, Ochako said. Well, I got better, Cody said. Hold the F up. You said no one is allowed back, Gwen said. I did? Chris asked. Yeah, and I quote, and once you leave, on the dock of shame and on the boat of losers, you can never, ever, ever, ever come back, end quote, Gwen said. Oh yeah, I lied, and it's not the only thing I lied about, Chris said. Gwen was about to argue with him, but then remembers that this is Chris McLean, asshole extraordinaire. So she stops herself. Hold up, you said that this isn't the only thing you lied about, Heather said. Yup, but also returning to camp, it's Izzy, Chris said as the wild girl appears. As she swings on a vine like Tarzan, she lets go and lands on her feet. Hey guys, it's good to be back at camp, even thought I never actually left island. I've been living in the woods all this time, Izzy said as she scratches her head with her leg. Izzy explains about her life in the woods. She speaks of storms, beavers, foraging, and wanting a bag of nachos. Before anyone else was going to say anything, Chris spoke once more. All right, campers, report to the amphitheater where you'll about this week's challenge. McLean out, Chris said as they went to the amphitheater. Ochako and Izuku lagged behind. I'll tell you later, Ochako, okay, Izuku said as Ochako nods. Duncan was trying to tell Owen that it was every camper for themselves, but Owen scoffed it off. Dude, I know for a fact that we're going to make a guys' alliance since the girls outnumber us 9-6, Owen said. Duncan opened his mouth, but then closed it after realizing that Owen was right. Yeah, we need all the voting power we can get since there are no more leaders, Owen said. Meaning no more double votes. Fine, I'll call the other guys, Duncan said as he nodded as he realizes that the double votes are gone. Yeah, at least we can get it to 8-7, Owen said. Duncan was confused by this at first, but then his eyes went wide. Super dork and dolly woman, Duncan said as realized once Izuku confessed to Ochako they would have an in on the girls. Yup, call the guys after the challenge, Owen said. A few minutes later, we find ourselves at the amphitheater where all the campers are seated. Welcome to the next challenge. This time we will be playing the time-honored game of torture say unless, Chris announced as he shows off a big wheel with various pictures on it. Eri was with them wearing a capitaine hat, except this one had a skull on it instead of a belt buckle. Izuku saw this and wondered. Okay, who's the moron that got Eri into Warhammer, Izuku thought. You're all about to be put through the test of endurance so insane that some of them sent some of our interns to the emergency room. If you back down or don't last the required 10 seconds you will be eliminated, Chris said as the campers gasp. This time Chris grins. Now before I tell you about today's prize, I'd like to point out that the teams are dissolved and I know most of you noticed a very noticeable lack of power. Voting power to be precise, Chris said as Heather's eyes went wide. Confessional booth. Beep. Holy shit, Izuku isn't a leader anymore, meaning his power is cut in half, Heather said with a demonic grin. Beep. Which is why I'm presenting this beauty of 5 kilos, Chris said as he holds up a giant platinum trophy with the letters TDI on it. The campers looked at the trophy in awe. This is the platinum camper. It goes to the best camper of the week. It doesn't come with cash prize like the platinum base or gopher, but whoever wins it gets triple voting power, Chris said. Hold up. I'm sorry, but did you say triple voting power? Lashana said with wide eyes. Yes, I did-o, and it come with 25 assorted imported chocolates, Chris said with a smile. Then Chris loses that smile. But we also have this, Chris said as he shows an old graham cracker. A graham cracker, dude? Jeff said. Yes, the graham cracker of disappointment. This goes to the least accomplished camper every week. Whoever gets this, and trust me, you do not want this, gets no voting power, Chris said with a smile that would make even Freddy Krueger flinch in fear. This shocks the campers. First an award with triple voting power followed by something that takes away your voting power. Chris means business, and thanks to this means the battle for the grand prize had just gotten harder. Confessional booth. Beep. Oh sweet mother of F. This is serious. I need that platinum award, Heather said. Well shit, Chris just turned the difficulty up to max, Gwen said. I love my new boss, Chris said with a genuine smile. Beep. Now for the second thing I lied about. The prize money, it is not a $100,000 city, but it's $5 million, Chris said. This surprised the campers. Chris lied about the grand prize. This will make the fight for first place even more intense. Now then for this week's prize. Immunity to elimination and a luxury trailer. Yours to take home at the end of the summer," Chris said as he shows off the trailer. "So what kinds of torture?" Lashana said. "Why don't you ask my lovely assistants?" Chris said. Eri and Chef were waiting for them, with the latter holding a cleaver. "All right, let's do this. Duncan, you're up first," Chris said. "I'm dead," Duncan said as he got up. "Now let's spin the wheel of misfortune to select your torture," Chris said as he spun the wheel. The wheel kept spinning until it stopped at the picture of a turtle. "Turtle puck shots." Our interns spent weeks collecting the grumpiest, angriest, crustiest, and hungriest old snapping turtles on the island. While you stand in the goalie net completely unprotected, Chef will fire turtle slap shots, Chris said as Duncan gulps. The campers gasp at the sight of the turtles. "If I were you, dude, I'd protect my balls. This could get ugly," Chris said with a smirk. A few minutes later. Now Duncan was now standing with a goal behind him. He was looking very nervous. "If you can stay in for 10 seconds, you'll go on to the second round," Chris said as a buzzer sounded off. Immediately Chef began shooting. Duncan dodged the first one, but the second one bit him in the shoulder. Chef shot more turtles at Duncan, hitting him, but he manages hang on for the 10 seconds even after one of the turtles bit Duncan balls. And Duncan moves on to the next round. "Isn't this fun?" Chris announced with a smile that looked like he was having too much fun. "Yeah, it's a effing riot," Duncan sarcastically grumbled as he glared at Chris. Confessional booth. Beep. "Damn, that's harsh, dude. No one should get hit in the nads, not even Duncan," Cody said. Beep. "Next up, Lindsay. Your torture is marshmallow waxing," Chris said as Chef carts in a pot of boiling marshmallow goop. "Oh Lord," Ochako said, paling at the sight of it. "We're gonna wax every part of your body. If you can take the pain for 10 seconds, you can go to the next level," Chris said as Lindsay fears turns into excitement. "Oh God, I so need this. I've been dealing with razor stubble for weeks. Try not to wax off my tan, okay?" Lindsay said. Chef poured the marshmallow wax on Lindsay's skin. Surprisingly, she took it like a champ, and after 10 seconds Chef peels it off, taking all of the razor stubble with it. "Oh my God, I thought marshmallow were only good as an empty-calorie snack. I am so going to use marshmallow wax from now on," Lindsay said as she felt her baby-skinned face. "Well done, Lindsay. Since you didn't even complain once, you get to choose who goes next," Chris said. Lindsay looks at Heather, who nods. "I chose Ochako with lake leeches," Lindsay said. Chef then carries a barrel of lake leeches and drops it down. Ochako was about to go, but Izuku stops her. "Izuku?" Ochako asked. "I'll go in her stead," Izuku said. The girls coo at how romantic he was. Except for Heather, who was seething. Izuku entered the barrel and stayed there for the 10 seconds needed. After that happens, he comes out a bit paler than usual. "Well done, Izuku, you're off to the next round," Chris said. Izuku goes back to his seat, but not before smiling at Ochako. "Lindsay, since Izuku won, you have to go to the pillory," Chris said. "Pillory?" Lindsay said as she restrained on a pillory. Chris spins the wheel again until it reaches a picture of a pair of shorts. "Owen, you're next," Chris said. After a bit, we see Owen wearing a pair of wooden shorts. "Wooden shorts, big deal," Owen said, mocking the shorts. Chef pulled out a stick with a woodpecker on it. Upon seeing it, Owen had one thing to say. "I've really got stopped summoning Murphy," Owen said as he covers his balls. After that was done, we see Gwen getting her nose hairs getting pulled out. Next we see DJ getting crushed by Snake, only to recognize it as the same snake trying to eat Bunny, which caused DJ to kick its ass and allowing him to go to round 2. Finally, we see Heather with a shirt of bees on her. Our next challenge will be spending 10 seconds in a wooden crate with Wawanakwa. "Tough one, Heather, you haven't complained in a while, so you can choose the next victim," Chris said. "The choice is simple, Eva," Heather said. Confessional booth. Beep. "Eva's hardcore. I was thinking she could actually pull this off," Lashana said. "Hopefully Eva makes it out alive so she can beat the shit out of Heather, 'cause she'll be so pissed when she does," Gwen said. Beep. Eva enters the wooden crate with the Wawanakwa. Once that happens, the crate starts to shake violently. This, however, lasts for 10 seconds. Soon Eva come out wearing a purple hat and a pair of purple boats, along with a purple coat a few sizes too small for her. "Here you go, Eri," Eva said as she gives Eri the coat. "Thank you, Miss Eva," Eri said as Eva went back to her seat. Eva stuck it out, so that means Heather is out of the game, Chris said as Heather is now stuck in a pillory. "F you damned beach," Heather said angrily. "Now then, let's see who showed the least courage, then Eva and cried uncle," Chris said with a smile. Multiple people cried uncle. First was Jeff, who got skunked. "Ah, damn it, not again," Jeff said as he covers his nose. Followed by Gwen, who couldn't take the new age music. "F you, Chris," Gwen said. Owen received the biggest brain freeze in history. "Gah!" Owen screamed in pain until he tripped and fell on his face. Katie was about to receive a haircut via chainsaw. "Nope, nope, nope," Katie said as she ran, all while saying nope over and over again. That was until she ran into the arms of Cody. He blushed for a bit before hugging her back. Confessional booth. Beep. "First day back, and I'm hugging a girl. My luck must be turning around," Cody said. "Oh God, I cannot believe I did that," Katie said as she blushed. Beep. Izzy was up next with eel shock therapy, only to not just want to do it again, but she did the next dare on herself, causing her to lose. "Oh no, I think Izzy should be in one of those rapper jackets," Eri said, who is wearing her new coat. "Yup, now then, time to spin the wheel," Chris said as he spins the wheel until it stops at a picture of two people. One of them is firing a laser while the other was talking. The resisting of the truth. Izuku, for this round you'll need to resist telling the truth while being fired by a truth ray quirk, courtesy of one of my many interns, Chris said as said intern nervously waved at him. "You sure I can do this, Chris?" the intern asked as Chris nods. Izuku was about to stand up, but Ochako stopped him. "Not this time, Izuku, I'm going," Ochako said. "You sure, Ochako-chan?" Izuku said as Ochako nods. Ochako stands in front of the intern, who looks at her. Ochako nods. Just before the intern fired, Jeff pushed Izuku closer to Ochako. Ochako notices Izuku right behind her and turns around to see Jeff smiling at them. Just as she was about to speak, Ochako was zapped by the intern. Izuku was getting up as he sees Ochako glowing. "Izuku," Ochako calmly said. Yes, Ochako," Izuku said. "You are the smartest, dumbest, hard-working boy I have ever met. When I first saw you, I thought you just this oddball of a boy," Ochako said. Izuku couldn't help but blush at that as he remembered the first time he met Ochako. In fact, now thinking about it, he never did talk to her. "But as I got to know you, the kind, earnest, generous boy, no man that graced the tiny blue marble we call home," Ochako said. Izuku's blush became even brighter as the intern stopped his quirk. "As I heard about your dreams and goals in life, I thought back then that I wouldn't distract from your dreams. If I had a time travel quirk rather than zero gravity, I would have slapped my past self silly for spouting such nonsense," Ochako said. "Ochako," Izuku thought. "I've seen you at your bravest and you're foolish," Ochako said. Izuku remembers the fight against Shoto and his clash with Stain. "I've seen you be both a guiding light and a pillar of strength," Ochako said. Izuku remembers the Usji and his fight against Muscular. "I've seen you being the greatest friend and the greatest father to Eri and Kota," Ochako said. Izuku remembers his class and the two kids he befriended. Ochako's look became somber. "I've also seen you at your lowest," Ochako said. Izuku knows that she meant phobia factor, but he can't help but remembers the dark times he had suffered. His quirkless diagnosis, his Hisashi leaving him, All Might saying no and Bakugou telling to kill himself, Izuku beings to tear up. "But I also want you to remember the greatest moments," Ochako said as she smiles. Getting into Yua, receiving one for all, hearing All Might saying he can be a hero, getting his provisional license, and finally meeting the love of his life. "Acha-chan, I want to add this moment as well. Uraraka Ochako, will you be my girlfriend?" Izuku said, not asked said. "Kiss me, ya fool," Ochako said as Izuku did just that. The both of them were ignorant of the many cheers the other campers gave, because it was just them. But like always, Chris ruined the moment. Well, two things. Finally, also you lost Ochako the game, but you gained a greater prize. Chris said with a smirk. Chris, I quit as well. Eva, Lashana may the best girl win cause I'll be busy getting to know my woman. Izuku said with a grin. Unknown to Izuku, the vestiges of Ofa were throwing a party to celebrate the good time to come. Izuku carries Ochako bridal-style rushes to the cabin, giggling along the way. Well then, that happened. Lashana, Eva, time for a sudden death match, Chris said. A few hours later. Ochako and Izuku were now cuddling in bed, and before you ask, no, they didn't do the deed yet. The both of them were dreaming when they hear a knock on the door. Soon they to wake up, and they open the door, revealing Daniel. Hey guys, the challenge is over. Lashana won. It's time to cast your votes. Oh Izuku, Chris told me to give you this, Daniel said as he hands Izuku his platinum camper. Thank you. We'll vote and head to the ceremony, Izuku said as both he and Ochako nod. Izuku and Ochako casted their votes and headed towards the campfire. Campfire ceremony. Okay, so first off we ran out of marshmallows, Chris said as Owen did a Darth Vader style nuo. Chris rolled his eyes at this. Second of all, the Izuacha ship has been launched, Chris said. This caused the campers to cheer, as the cinnamon rolls blush. I reviewed the voted, and besides 6 votes going to Heather and Izzy having no voting power, the rest went to one of the strongest players. And that player is, Chris said as dramatic music plays. The other campers were silent, but they all knew who it was. Eva, sorry to say, but you're out, Chris said. Ugh, fine, I guess this is my end, Eva said. Hi, you're taking it a lot better than I thought, Chris said with a raised eyebrow. After phobia factor, I've learned to take a loss a lot better, Eva said as she takes her leave. Soon Eva leaves the island waving goodbye to her friends. After Eva leaves, Izzy suggests a party in Lashana's trailer. They do, and Izuku and Ochako join in as well. They wonder how their class would react. Today we don't find ourselves at Total Drama Island, but in Ua High, where the 2 hero classes, Mei, Hitoshi, Melissa, who was visiting, and the teachers were watching the show. But when the confession happened, Mina and Toru were silent as Mina got up and went to her and came back with a box. She opened the box, and it revealed a pair of headphones and 2 long tubes with aux cable inserts. Toru, hold Kaio-chan down, Mina said as Toru holds Gyro down as Mina inserts the tubes and places on the headphones on her ears. Okay, done, Mina said as she snaps her fingers at Kyoka. What the hell is this, and why I can't hear your snapping? Kyoka said as she can clearly see Mina snapping fingers. Okay, good Toru, Mina said. Yup, okay girls, it has happened, Toru said with glee. Girls commenced the squeals. With that in mind, the girls squealed, and it was so loud that everyone else covered their ears. It has happened, Mina shouted. Izuacha, 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 Toru said with glee. This is so awesome, Setsuna said. I'm happy for Midoriya-san and Uraraka-chan, Itsuka said with a smile. Ugh, at least they warned me about the squealing, Gyro said as she takes off the hearing protection. Yes, I won the pool, Toshinori shouted as the rest of the teachers gave Toshinori money. Hold up your betting money, Ida shouted as she swung his arms up and down. Oh please, we do this all the time, Hizashi said. Yeah, you're just smug for last year when you guessed correctly about the big 3 being poly, Narumi said as she pouts. Hold up, the big 3 are poly? Mina asked. Mina will deal with that later. For now, Izuacha, Toru said. Oh right, anyway we should celebrate the union, Mina said with a smile. Mei, what do you think, Mei? Tsuyu said. Oh don't worry, we'll get the green along with Gravity Girl, Mei said. Tsuyu and Mei nodded as they bumped fists. Ah guys, Lashana won and Eva was eliminated, Denki said as he sees the campfire ceremony. Yeah, whatever Kaminari, Mina said dismissing him. Okay, so I'm going to check the forum. Holy shit, Izuacha is already trending, Denki shouted as everyone looks at the forum. Oh my, it looks like a lot of people are liking this, Momo said as she sees a lot of positive comments. It looks like there are some trolls as well, Yui said as she saw some negative comments only to be buried by other positive comments. Huh, who's the creator of the blog? Kanoko said. Someone named Coddleover69, Denki said. Well, looks like Cody has a fan, Mina said. Yeah, a crazy one, Setsuna said with an eye roll, as the students discuss about the confession. The teachers, on the other hand, were discussing about if it will interfere with their future heroics. This is just so cute, Narumi said with glee. I don't think should be together while working, Aizawa said. You know, I'm starting to see why the RPA prohibits underground heroes from being teachers, Ken said in a flat tone. Aizawa, Narumi, and Hisashi groaned. This is one of the major things that the RPA was trying to prevent. They had made studies about underground hero educators. These studies had shown that they have extreme standards mostly due to personal tragedies to prevent further death. The results of those who worked under these heroes become underground heroes themselves, resign from their hero academia, or in the worst-case scenario become villains or commit suicide. Don't remind us, the three of them said. At least I can have Hitoshi as an apprentice, Aizawa said. That's fair, but what will we do now? Ken asked. They knew that UA will be closed by Neo-On at least until they can get their jobs back. Yeah, at least I have my radio show, Hisashi said. I'll need a place to work. Think you can spot me? Narumi said. At least I can work as an accountant until I can get my license back, Aizawa said. Still, I wonder how everyone else would react, Hiragi said. Especially other pro-heroes, Toshinori said. Or villains, Nezu said, causing the teachers to go silent. Nezu was right. What would the villains do now that the world knows that Izuku and Ochako are a couple? Izuacha reaction villains. Somewhere in Japan we find a group of villains watching TV. But these weren't ordinary villains. These were the League of Villains. Tamura Shigaraki, Dabai, Himiko Toga, Twice, Spinner, and Mr. Compress. Tamura is a slim man with pale skin, tinged yellow teeth, and a great deal of wrinkles around his eyes. His lips are chapped and uneven, a small mole on the right underneath, with visible scars on his right eye and under his lip. He has messy, long, grayish-blue hair of varying lengths, the longest clumps reaching to about his shoulders, left hanging over his face in uneven waves. His eyes and mouth are normally obscured, but when visible, they are usually stretched wide in a rather maniacal manner, their bright red irises very small. After all, for one's arrest, he wears a hooded leather coat that he wears over his costume. He also added 2 additional red cords to connect the hands on his shoulders to the hands on his chest. Dabai is a reasonably tall, pale young man of slim shape but somewhat muscular build, described as in his early 20s. He has white hair with a few red flecks at its crown that spikes upward around his head, hanging low over his eyes, which are thin, turquoise, and heavily lidded. Dabai's hair was dyed black before revealing his true identity. His most striking features are undoubtedly the patches of gnarled, wrinkled, purple skin that cover much of his lower face and neck, all the way down past his collarbone, below his eyes, around his torso, and on his arms and legs due to him losing control of his fire quirk at age 13, engulfing him in flames. These appear to be attached to the rest of his skin by multiple crude surgical staples or hoop piercings. He has several silver cartilage piercings in both ears and a triple nostril piercing on the right side of his nose. Upon closer inspection, he also lacks earlobes on both sides of his ears. He wears a dark blue jacket with a high, ripped collar, matching pants cut off above his ankles, and a pair of dark dress shoes on his feet. He also has a plain pale gray, scoop neck shirt, below which a gray belt with a circular pattern wraps around his waist, a leather satchel attached at the back. Himiko is a relatively petite, fair-skinned girl who is prone to blushing and is frequently described as having a pretty face. She has slightly inward-tilting bright yellow eyes with thin slits, somewhat resembling those of a cat, and her wide mouth is also rather feline, as both her upper and lower canines are more pointed and longer than the rest of her teeth, giving her a vampiric appearance. Her hair is a pale, dirty ash blonde color and is styled into 2 messy buns, with numerous wild strands sticking out at all angles from their centers and where they're fastened, a straight fringe and 2 chin-length side bangs to frame her face. Her casual outfit consists of a plain seifuku with a kansai collar, both the skirt and the shirt dark blue with a double white trim, which is paired with a red scarf that she ties loosely below. Over this, she wears an oversized beige cardigan with a rather long hem and cuffs, and pockets on either side, the right one shown to hold a number of trinkets on either a keychain or a cell phone strap. She sports knee-length black socks and dark brown dress shoes with thick heels, the same as the outdoor uniform shoes students traditionally wear in Japanese schools. In her villain attire, she wears the same outfit, but with a few additional gadgets and pieces, such as her piped black mask, the boxes of knives strapped around her thighs, and a blue utility belt around her waist with more little green boxes attached to it on either side. The most noticeable new feature is the loose black mask she wears around her neck, which is decorated with pieces of pale gray metal in the shape of a carnivorous grin. 3 large silver canisters are attached to the sides of her mask, with needles poking out of their tips and wires on their bases, which connect them to the 2 larger cylinders strapped to the back of her belt. This whole mechanism is used to suck people's blood for Himiko to use with her quirk. Mr. Compress is a tall, slim man with pale skin and brown eyes that are semicircular and slightly slanted inwards, and he has a notably pointed nose. He wears a combination of a mask, balaclava, and hat. Underneath his mask reveals that he has short black eyebrows and a head of curly brown hair of similar shade to his eyes. In his villain attire, he wears a dark orange shirt, the collar left upturned, and a green striped bolo necktie with an oval-shaped azure brooch hanging around his neck, a black waistcoat and black dress pants. He wears knee-high white boots with wedged heels and black toe caps, plain dark red gloves and a tall brown top hat, a red ribbon tied around it and a pale feather sticking out on the left side. Over his head, he wears a black balaclava with a hole for his mouth as well as his eyes, over which he wears one of multiple white masks he owns, each with a different black geometric design. In his first appearance, he also wears a dark yellow, double-breasted overcoat with buttoned shoulder tabs and a high collar, which reaches below his knees, and he additionally carries a silver walking stick with a gold handle. Spinner is a young man with a reptile-like appearance, with bright green scales for skin and a face shaped like that of a lizard. His hair is relatively long and swept backward and is a desaturated pinkish-purple in color, standing out from the rest of his colors. In reflection of his great admiration toward Stain, Spinner wears clothes similar to his, a sleeveless shirt and dark, baggy pants, along with black shoes and pale, metallic knee guards. He wears a mask made of a long, tattered strip of cloth, the same as the one worn by Stain, a red scarf and bandages wrapped around both his arms, partially covered by black wristbands and plain black boots. He wears goggles on his forehead, and also carried an enormous sword on his back that was made out of many smaller blades bound together until it was destroyed. Twice was a rather well-built man, with blonde hair and gray-blue eyes. He had a large scar splitting his forehead from an incident in his past. He had visible traces of facial hair over his mouth and at the bottom of his chin. His civilian attire consisted of a blue collared shirt over a white tank top along with a normal pair of pants and boots. His villain costume was a black and gray bodysuit that covered his body completely, along with gray boots. The upper half of his signature mask was gray with white eye sockets, while the lower half covering his mouth was black. Twice also sported red and green wristbands that he stored his measuring tapes in. The majority of Twice's suit was black other than the section over his lower legs and the gray designs that appear to form a T and W over his chest. The T is formed by a horizontal line crossing his upper torso and a vertical line ascending from the abdomen. Another line snakes down to his lower torso and splits down to his thighs, which then ascends to his hips forming a W. "How well, damn. Go Uraraka," Dabai said with a raised eyebrow. "This is so cute, they won't last long," Twice said. My, this is quite beautiful," Mr. Compress said. "I think he deserves more girls and happiness," Spinner said. I agree with you, Spinner," Tamura said. "Yay, my 2 favorite people are together now. I hope I can join them and make love to them all while covered in that monster's blood," Himiko said with a blush and a fanged grin. The other villains were creeped out about that, but they have a good idea on what Toga's saying. "Okay, I assume you want a blood orgy with those hero brats, all while bathing in Bakugou's blood," Dabai said, knowing the answer. "Yup, he deserves to die," Himiko said with no hesitation. "At least Tamura isn't destroying the TV like the last time." Mr. Compress said. The last time being phobia factor, which pissed Tamura off because he believed he could have turned Izuku into a villain. He ranted about that for days, especially when he learned that it was All Might that shattered his dreams. Tamura grumbled as he reminded himself about missing out at the secret recruit with an S-rank analysis ability. Okay then, I want to give an absolute order, Tamura said as everyone looked at Tamura. Tamura took a deep breath. No one touches Uraraka, for if she dies Izuku will either kill himself or destroy with a fury of 1,000 suns, Tamura said. And if he gets a polycule? Spinner said, remembering Justin's confessional. The same order goes to them as well, Tamura said. Everyone nodded at that. Say, Tamura, how much would a plane ticket to Canada cost? Himiko asked. This raises an eyebrow at this question. I'll ask Jiren about it and I'll tell you later, Tamura said as Himiko swoons. Soon she will see her favorite people again. Tamura sighs as Himiko goes into her room with a skip on her step. Okay then, let's see how we can get our new elite unit, Tamura said. Unknown to Tamura, this will be the first step to becoming the greatest villain of the world, even greater than All for One. Meanwhile, at Camp Wawanakwa. Oh, what was that? Izuku said as he looks around. Izuku, shut up and make out with me, Ochako said. Izuku shrugs and goes back to making out with Ochako. God, he loves his girlfriend and he'll enjoy every moment of it. We find Chris once again at the dock of shame, ready to make the intro. Last time on Total Drama Island, the teams were dissolved, leaving each and every camper to look out for number one, and to add some more drama to the mix, we brought back Cody and Izzy for some extra fun. We also raised the stakes with the Platinum Camper Award along with the Graham Cracker of Disappointment, and raised the prize money from $100,000 to $5 million. Chris said with a grin. You're loving every single moment of this, aren't you, big guy? Daniel said. Chris, who was in a good mood, smiled. The campers were made to suffer abuse after abuse in this no pain, no game challenge. Izuku did the heroic thing and saved Ochako from the lake leeches. In an awesome display of log rolling, Lashana won the challenge, but more importantly Izukumidoriya and Ochako Uraraka finally got together. And in this host's humble bragging opinion, it's about effing time, Chris said as he shouted the last part. Hell yeah, I still can't believe you won the bet, boss, Daniel said. I still have to give 80% of the winning to them, but who cares? Chris said with a big smile on his face. Okay, big guy, back to the show, Daniel said as he chuckled. As did Chris. Now that the campers are forced to fend for themselves, who will selfless, who will be selfish, and who will eat shellfish? Chris said, knowing that he will do the last one. Not me, that's for sure, Daniel mumbled as he made his disdain for seafood known. Stay tuned for the most thrilling episode yet of On, Chris said as he does the last part of the intro. Total Drama Island. Play intro. It was another day in Camp Wawanakwa. The sun was beginning to rise as we see Lashana coming out of her new trailer, her eyes a bit baggy after the party last night. Damn, that was a good party last night, Lashana said as she yawns and scratches her ass. With Izuku and Ochako. We find ourselves at the lake where Izuku swam in it, despite having man-eating sharks in it. Confessional booth. Beep. We see a shark in the confessional booth, wearing green and pink banners and the like. Turns out that they support Izuacha as well. Beep. We see Ochako waiting for Izuku as he comes out of the water, showing off his body now free of scars. Ochako couldn't help but blush at the sight of his scar-free body. Confessional booth. Beep. Okay, despite me making out with Izuku yesterday, I still blush at his presence, and I'm sure Izuku does the same with me, Ochako said with a blush. I'm sure if Ochako was here, she would have said something similar. God, I love that woman, Izuku said. I think Ochako is nice. Maybe she and that nice frog lady can share him. Then I would have two mommies, Iri said with glee. Beep. But like all good things, they have to come to an end. As Chris, who's dressed in a pirate outfit, fires a cannon hitting a nearby tree, which was near Lashana's trailer. Oh god damn it, Chris, Lashana said. Yarmy mateys, meet me at the amphitheater in 5 minutes and I'll tell ye about today's challenge. Chris said in a bad pirate accent. Izuku and Ochako sighed at this. Well, it was fun while it lasted, Izu-kun, Ochako said. Yeah, let's go, O-chan, Izuku said. The both of them left for the amphitheater. 5 minutes later. Amphitheater. Everyone is at the amphitheater waiting for Chris to tell them about the challenge along with Chef and Eri, who are wearing pirate hats. At that moment Chris begins to speak. Well, my little scallywags, have we got an adventure in store for ye? Chris said as the parrot on his shoulder falls down, but he fixes it up. What's under the sheet, bro? Jeff asked. All in good time, laddie. Who here has a hankering for a good old-fashioned treasure hunt? Chris said as he starts to cough. He knew what was causing it, so he pouted as he rubbed his throat. Oh, god damn it. All right, you win, Doc, no more pirate voice, Chris said as he used his normal voice. Told you so, Me said with a smirk. Anyway, this treasure hunt has a twist. Rather than doing the whole treasure map and riddle stuff, you'll be looking for the keys for said chests, Chris said as Chef takes the sheet off of the multiple chests that lay underneath. They looked at the chests with glee in their eyes. Inside of these chests has something inside of them, with one of the chests containing not only the proof of invincibility but this week's platinum camper. But beware, inside 2 of the chests are the graham cracker of disappointment and a black pearl, and trust me, you don't want the latter, Chris said as the campers gulped. We're going to win, Izuku, Ochako said as Izuku nods. Now come up to the stage and pull a clue to your key's location or you'll walk the plank, Chris said. Confessional booth. Beep. What, she didn't say anything about not using pirate lingo, Chris said with a shrug. Fair enough, Me said with a shrug. Beep. The campers pull out their clues and one by one they read them. The hell, a bear cave, Owen said after reading his clue. I was hoping you get that one, dude, Chris said with a grin. Heather looks at her clue and wonders what that is. Haha, Chef's fridge, nice. I hear he brushes it daily for fingerprints, Chris said, still grinning. Chef just glares at Heather while Eri smiles and waves. Jeff was looked at his clue and Chris's grin became larger. That there is the skeptic tank for the washrooms, Chris said. Ah fuck, Jeff said. All you scallywags go find your keys and bring them back by 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to open up your chest and get your loot. Fare thee well, young scallywags, now get to it, Chris said as the challenge starts. Confessional booth. Beep. I don't know who came up with these lame-o challenges, and memo to Chris, those pirate tight do not exactly flatter your legs, savvy, Heather said with an eye roll. Woo-hoo, I am all about the treasure hunt, yes. The bears are a little concerning, but there's treasure, Owen said. Thank God and the glowing baby that I don't have to go through bears and the like. One bear attack is more than enough for me, Cody said. Ah dude, this is so not cool. If I had a nickel for every time I leave smelling like shit, then I'd have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's still weird that it happened 3 times, Jeff said as he groans. Beep. With Izuku. Izuku's first challenge is to garb is his key in the shark-infested lake, Chris said as Izuku thinks. And by thinks it really means muttering on how to avoid the sharks. He then comes up with an idea. He grabs a few fishes, tosses them into the lake, and gets the key that way. Okay, that was simple, Izuku said as Ochako hugs him. With Heather. Heather must retrieve her from inside of Chef's bank vault of a fridge without getting caught, Chris said as Heather opens the fridge door, only to reveal that Chef was already inside. Heather, traumatized for the billionth time, closes the door and walks away. Okay, I might need some help for this, Heather said. With Cody. Cody has to get his key from Eri without provoking Granny and Co., Chris said as Cody raises an eyebrow. Hey Eri, can I have the key? I'll trade you some apple gummies, Cody said as he shows Eri the 10 packets of apple-flavored gummies. A drooling Eri rushes towards Cody with key in hand and says, Shut up and take my key, Eri said as she holds the key like in that one meme. Confessional booth. Beep. Looks like things are looking up for me, Cody said with a grin. Eri is happily eating her gummies. Inko is seen shaking her head in disapproval at what Cody did. Beep. With Gwen. Gwen managed to get her key after flooding a skunk's den. Yes, no tomato baths for me. Though I can't say the same for Jeff, Gwen said. With Heather. We go back to Heather as she and Lindsay were working together to get the key. Heather managed to sneak into the kitchen as Chef slept and gotten the key. Yes, I got the key now, I hope Lindsay can do it right, Heather thought as she tells Lindsay to pull her up. How as Lindsay did this, a fly bothered her so much that she dropped Heather. However, the universe had already used its bad things happen to Heather freebie, as she not only holds on to the rope but does a matrix to grab the key. Chef woke up to the sound and spoke. How come all the other kids get ponies? Chef said as he went back to sleep. Heather took the chance to get back up. With Duncan. Duncan had managed to get his key from the flaming ring. Ha, way too easy, Duncan said. Duncan's though exterior seems to be helping him with his challenge, Chris said. With DJ. DJ was climbing a tree trying to reach his key. But good old DJ seems a bit out of his league, Chris said. Unfortunately, a woodpecker broke the branch, causing both him and the key to fall. At least I got it, ouch, DJ said as he groans in pain. With Jeff. Jeff was readying himself to enter the septic tank. Meanwhile, back in the communal washrooms, things are starting to pile up, Chris said. Let's get this fucking over with, Jeff said as he puts on a snorkel. Sometime later. Soon everyone started getting their keys as the rest of the campers got their keys. Examples of Lindsay and Izzy getting stung and bitten. Katie playing chess with a woolly beaver and said beaver winning. Owen getting trapped by the bear and Bridget facing a rabid bunny. Until the only one left was none other than Ochako. What did she had to do well? Ochako has to face her future mother-in-law in quirkless combat in order to get her key and to make sure they don't get an easy victory. Eerie will be until Chef's care, Chris said. Ochako blushed at the prospect of Inko being Izuku's mother-in-law, but she shakes her head as she goes into a stance. Inko does the same. After a bit they clashed, but thanks to Ochako's training with Yua, Gunhead and Ruku, she dominated Inko and took the key, though she will admit that Inko made her work for it. Sorry Inko-san, Ochako said as Inko chuckled. Don't worry about it, Ochako-chan, Inko said. Soon it was now 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it was time to open the chests. It be time to claim your treasure. Those fortunate enough to bear a precious key come forth with it, Chris said. Duncan was the first to do so, only to get a bunch of snacks. Is this the best you can do? Duncan asked. Chris nodded as Duncan frowns. I want to be surprised, but I'm not, Duncan said as he eats his chips. Owen was next and received a brand new state-of-the-art gaming PC. Yeah, this is awesome, Owen said. Yeah, originally I wanted that some keys didn't open chests, but my boss said no, Chris said with a pout. Also, can you do something about him? Owen said, gesturing at Bear that somehow stuffed half of Owen's body into its mouth. Owen's answer was multiple tranquilizer shots, hitting the bear with one of them hitting Owen. The bear soon falls down and Owen thanks him. Gwen was next and got a toaster. It was then Heather's turn, and upon opening her chest. Oh, what's this, a platinum camper and an invincibility pass? Lucky me, Heather said. Soon everyone was getting their prizes, from Cody getting some sodas, to Lindsay getting an accordion. But when Lashana opened her chest, she was not happy. Oh hell nah, I got the fucking graham cracker, Lashana said as she holds the graham cracker of disappointment. Soon it was down to one chest, and the person that opened it was Ochako. Oh sorry Ochako, looks like you got the black pearl, meaning you along with one other camper is getting off the island. For real this time, Chris said as Ochako's eyes goes wide. Ochako took a deep breath as he told Inko and Are to stay and cheer Izuku on. Ah shit, Duncan said as they lost another vote. Don't worry, you still have to vote, so go on and cast them, and I'll see you Buccaneers back at the campfire after sundown, Chris said. Later that night. We find the campers at the campfire where another camper is going home along with Izuku. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, the moment of truth. Marshmallow time, Chris said as he shows the plate of marshmallows. Chris explains the routine, but the campers already knew about it. They didn't know who to vote for since Lashana can't vote and Heather has triple voting power. Izzy, Jeff, Katie, Bridget, DJ, Izuku, Lashana, Lindsay, Heather, Owen and Cody marshmallows for the lot of ya, meaning Gwen and Ochako are out of here, Chris said as he shows the empty plate. We then see Izuku hugging Ochako as they cried. Beat Heather down for me, baby, Ochako said as Izuku nods. As the girls got on, the Ochako waved goodbye to Izuku as he cried as well. I'll see you soon, Machai-chan, Izuku said. With Ochako. Yani Dekuru AI, Ochako said as she cried and Gwen patted her on the back. Back at camp. Izuku retires for the night as Lashana gives Izuku a pillow before leaving to teach Heather a lesson. It was the pillow Ochako used. It didn't stay dry. We find Chris once again at the dock of shame ready to make the intro. Previously on Total Drama Island, campers searched for treasure and yours truly putting an impressive performance as a pirate. But this was no ordinary treasure hunt. Some of the campers put their lives on the line to snag their booty, while Jeff put his stomach on the line while doing something that would make most people hurl. But in the end, it was Heather who received the platinum camper, Lashana the cracker, and in a surprise twist both Gwen and Ochako walked the plank towards the dock of shame. Chris said as the scenes of the previous episode play out. So how much hate mail did we get, Chris? Daniel said. With or without the death threats. Anyway, who will be the unlucky camper to walk the dock of shame? Who will lose their cool? Who will lose their lunch? Find out on the most shocking episode yet on. Chris said as he does the last part of the intro. Total Drama Island. Play intro. Today we find Lindsay and Heather sitting at the steps of the girls' cabin where Lindsay is drinking grape soda, while Heather is holding a pair of ruined pants. I am so glad they included grape-tastic pop to your reward last night, Heather. It's totally my favorite. It's the only thing I've really been craving on the island, Lindsay said as she slumped. Heather simply took the soda, taking a sip, but then spits it out. How can you drink this sugar water? Heather angrily said as she tosses the soda bottle as Lindsay gasped. Confessional booth. Beep. It was nighttime where Lindsay without her bracelet as she pinches the bridge of her brow. Okay, Heather is a foul bitch. I'm surprised that my dumb version doesn't see that. She steals my stuff, takes my clothes and calls me names. How my dumb version thinks of her a friend is beyond me, Lindsay said. Who cares about friends in this world? There are shepherds and their sheep, and Lindsay is a major sheep, Heather said with a grin. But for a few seconds until she remembers about Lindsay's quirk. Well, at least the suppressed version of her, Heather said. She doesn't respect me nor my attempts at strategizing, Lindsay said. I will admit the smart Lindsay is concerning to deal with. But the dumb one, I've got flip-flops smarter than her. But hey, she's useful right now, so I'll keep her close until she's no longer useful. After that I'll dump her, Heather said. Honestly, the only good things in this island was the realization of Izuacha and Owen, which I got to find a way to remind my dumb version to confess to Owen, Lindsay said. Beep. With Izuku. Izuku was glum. Sad that Ochako was eliminated after just getting together. Bro, you can't being this sad. Hell, I bet she'd kick your ass with your moping, Jeff said. This got a chuckle out of Izuku. He wipes his tears and gives a smile to the other guys. You're right, guys. Ochako would not only kick my ass, but also send it towards the damn sun, Izuku said with a smile. Yeah man, so her by making it far, little dude, Jeff said with a grin. Sometime later, dock of shame. We find Chris and campers ready for the next challenge. Okay, for today's challenge is a good old-fashioned game of hide and seek, Chris said. Iri, who was next to Chris, raised an eyebrow. What's hide and seek? Iri asked as everyone. Confessional booth. Beep. What the F? Chris simply said. Oh, Iri, Izuku said, saddened by Iri's words. The F? Bridget said. I don't get, Iri said with a shrug. Beep. Dock of shame. Chris shakes his head as he continues. Uok, you have 10 minutes to hide before both Chef Hatchet and Eri comes looking for you. With Chef's military background, advanced degree in manhunt, and doctorate in search and rescue, he is uniquely qualified to make this game excruciatingly hard. Chris said with a grin. Chef takes out a water gun and pumps it like a shotgun. More like overqualified, Izuku muttered. For Eri, I just want her to have some fun, Chris said as Eri waves. What's with the water gun? Duncan asked as a laser pointer is aimed at Duncan's head. The lifeguard chair is home base. When either one of them find you, they will spray you. If you escape their blasts, you can run to home base. But if they catches you, they'll douse you, Chris said. I was going to make a crack about the water gun, but I'm pretty sure you turned it into a support item, Duncan said, having learned to expect anything and everything when it came to Chris. Why don't you demonstrate them, Chef? Chris said with a smirk. Chef pumps the water gun, and he turns around and fires at Chris, unleashing a torrent of water at him, sending her over a few meters. Not on me, dude, Chris shouted. Heather asked Chris about the win conditions. Chris explained that in order to win, they needed to hide until time is up, reach home base, and if caught help Chef and Eri find the others. Winning would get the winner invincibility. Chris gave the campers 10 minutes to hide, and everyone does it except for Lindsay, who decided to just run around in circles. That was just sad, Eri said as she shakes her head. Indeed, little uni wall indeed, Chris said. Chef nods in agreement. 10 minutes later. The hiding period had ended and everyone was hiding. Lashana decided to hide in the lake, breathing through a straw with a lily pad on it. The girls decide where to hide in. The boys, on the other hand, decided to speak. With the boys. The boys were hiding in a cave discussing about the game. Okay, besides reaffirming the guys' alliance, what should we do? Duncan asked. Well, I think we have a chance since they're not the most communicative right now, DJ said as Owen nodded. The both of them remembering the massive catfight this morning. I agree with Duncan, I'm sure they can smell the blood in the water, Izuku said. Guys, I got something say in regards to the girls, Cody said. Duncan looked at him and nodded at him as if telling him to continue. Right, the girls knew that since Izuku and Ochako got together, they would make an alliance. And when we made the guys' alliance, the girls made a pact to eliminate Ochako, Cody said. So they were on to us. But where did you get that intel from? Duncan asked. From Katie, believe or not. She told me about. She also told me that they had a bunch of plans, but then the Black Pearl happened, Cody said. Izuku is a bit bummed out, but understands. Alright, so with that out of the way, guys unite to save our asses from elimination, Duncan said as he laid his hand out. Agree? DJ, Owen, Cody and Izuku said as they placed their hand on top of Duncan's. Jeff hesitated a bit since he likes Bridget, but he does the same in the end. Sometime later. Everyone was now hiding in multiple places, except for Izzy, who was following Chef and Eri. When the both of them turned around to look behind them, Izzy was already hiding behind a bush and sometime later in a rock. Heather hid under the table of the kitchen, while Lindsay did the same. This resulted in an argument where Chef found them after turning on the lights. Hey. This is my kitchen, also known as Forbidden Territory, Chef said with a grin. Take her, Heather said as she pushes Lindsay at Chef. In a panic, Lindsay screams and runs like her life depended on it. Chef chases the both of them as the girls rush towards home base. However, just as they were about to make it, Chef blasted them with the water gun, taking the both of them out of the game. Soaking wet, Heather glares at Lindsay. This is all your fault, Lindsay, Heather said. Sorry, Lindsay said. It was then that Lindsay noticed something missing, or rather someone. Hey Chef, wasn't Eri with you? Lindsay asked. Oh, don't worry about the little uni wall, she just gonna find Izuku, Chef said. Ugh, if anyone can find him, it's her, Heather said. With Eri. Eri was looking for Izuku in the cabins, but pouted when she couldn't find him. Where are you, Papa? Eri said as she holds up her tiny green water pistol. As she walks out of the cabin looking for Izuku, she didn't see a rock that was in the way and fell on the ground, scraping her knee. Eri was hurt, she teared up, but it wasn't as Kai blowing her up over and over again for her quirked blood. She needed to find Mr. Hatchet to heal her. But then someone stood over her. That someone is Izuku. Eri, are you okay? Izuku asked, worried about Eri. I scraped my knee, Eri said with tears in her eyes. Izuku picked her and began walking towards me. Screw the challenge, Eri came first. Eri squirted Izuku with her water pistol. Izuku didn't mind losing at all. He sees Heather and Lindsay sitting on the steps of the camp lounge when all of a sudden he hears a commotion. Camp lounge. Chef was now fighting Izzy, and he had to admit her skills in CQC is flawless. But what she had in skill, he had in experience. They continued to fight until Izzy ran off. "You'll never take me alive," Izzy shouted. "Of course I can easily F it up," Chef said. At least he knew where she was going. The dock of shame. Chef was chasing Izzy at the docks while Heather, Lindsay and Izuku, after leaving Eri with me, looked for other campers. Izzy slides on her belly to reach home base, but Chef anticipated this and fired not at Izzy but the part of the dock near the home base, making her slide into the lake. Izzy pouted as she sat at the bottom of the lake, and that is where she sees Lashana. Both girls nodded as Izzy swam back up. "You're done, Izzy," Chef said as he heard a scream coming from the campfire site. After getting there, he could smell the stink on her. Technically I don't have spray you," Chef started. "Just effing spray me already, Chef," Bridget shouted as Chef does just that. "All right, surfer brat, but had you let me finish, I would have switched it with tomato juice, but you have to be impatient," Chef said. Bridget then remembers that she was sprayed by skunks, meaning she needed Chef to spray her with tomato juice, not water. "F," Bridget said as she follows Chef, with Izzy right behind them, with DJ and Owen. DJ and Owen were arguing about their hiding spot, which was the roof of the camp lodge. They would continue to do this until they hear a creaking sound. Owen, do you hear that?" DJ asked. "Depends how much do you weigh," Owen asked. "About 46 kilos, and you?" DJ asked. "About 120. We're going to fall, aren't we?" Owen said. "We should have just kept our mouths shut," DJ said as Owen nods. Both DJ and Owen shouted as the fall down to the lodge. "Oh F, that hurts," DJ said as he got up. "Lucky you, dude, at least you didn't land on your balls," Owen said as the both of them get out only to see Izuku. "Sorry guys, but you're caught," Izuku said. Damn it," DJ said. "Well, that sucks, but hey, better you to get invincibility than, say, Heather," Owen said. "That's fair," Izuku said. It was then that Heather, Lindsay, and the others appeared. Heather growled at the sight of Izuku finding DJ and Owen, meaning he had invincibility. "I found Owen and DJ, Chef," Izuku said. "Meaning you get invincibility. Good job, and where's Eri?" Chef asked. "She scrapped her knee, so I took her to me," Izuku said as Chef nods. "All right, time to find the rest," Chef said as he and the group finds them. And he does just that. First he finds Cody hidden in some grass. "Good job and the camouflage, but you lose," Chef said as Cody groans. Next was Katie, who hid in Mi's infirmary. They also see Eri pointing her water pistol at her. "Good job, little Uniwall," Chef said as Eri beams. Next he found Jeff in a very tall tree. Chef kicks the tree, making Jeff fall down. "You're done, son," Chef said. "F, that hurts," Jeff said. Jeff fell down the tree, Eri said with a chuckle. Finally, he finds Duncan in the bear cave. "All right already, you got me, damn it," Duncan said. "I guess that's everyone then," Jeff said. "What about Lashana?" Owen said. "Lashana? But I searched everywhere," Chef said, thinking back to the places he checked. Eri did the same until her eyes went wide. "Chef, the water Lashana hid in the lake," Eri shouted as Chef ran back to the docks. The other campers and Eri follow him. But upon reaching the dock of shame, they see Lashana sitting on the lifeguard's chair. "What took you so long, sugar?" Lashana said with a grin. The campers cheer for Lashana while Chef nods respectfully. Confessional booth. Beep. The classic lily pad breathing straw technique. I'll have to remember that one next time, Chef said with a grin. Beep. Dock of shame. All right, campers, game's over. Time to pick the loser and send them home, Chris said. With the girls. The girls decides to work together to vote one the boys off the island. Bridget reminded outside due to the skunk smell. Okay then, so it's either Owen or Duncan, Katie said. Right girl, Duncan is an ass, Lashana said. Owen is just too happy all the time. I don't trust him, Heather said. Yeah, Owen has to go, Lindsay said as she is painting her nails. Confessional booth. Beep. Okay, that was a limited edition nail polish. What the flying fuck? You know, I'm starting to think that my smarty voice is right, and that Heather isn't my friend but a vile bitch, Lindsay said. Beep. You with us? Heather said as Katie and Lashana shakes their heads. No, Bridget said. Fine then, let the chip fall where they may, Heather said as she leaves. Fine beach, Lashana said. With the boys. The boys were deciding on who to eliminate. Okay, so it's agreed we eliminate Bridget, Duncan said. What about Heather? Izuku has invincibility and not her, Jeff said. She would be a good choice, but Bridget is likable and good at sports. We may never get another chance, Duncan said. Yet and with Izuku having the platinum camper, it will be easier for us, Cody said. All in favor of booting Bridget? Duncan asked. The guys once more placing there on top another, with a reluctant Jeff doing the same. Campfire site. The campfire ceremony is underway. Everyone save 3, Owen, Duncan and Bridget. Chris, who is holding the plate with 2 marshmallow. There are only 2 marshmallows left on this plate. You 3 racked up a lot of votes each. One of you is going home tonight and cannot return ever, Chris said. The 3 campers don't believe him at all. The next marshmallow goes to Owen, Chris said as he tosses the treat to Owen's mouth. Woo-hoo, all right, Owen said with a cheer. I'm so glad you won, Owen, Lindsay said. Okay, the final marshmallow of the night goes to Duncan, Chris said as he gives the marshmallow to Duncan. The campers gasped, and even Chris admits that he is shocked. Soon the campers say goodbye to Bridget, with Jeff admitting that he didn't vote her off, which gets him into some trouble with the other guys save Izuku. Later that night. Hey Duncan, you sure that it was okay to leave Jeff like that? Izuku asked. Yeah, it is. The dude needs to know that you can't always think with your dick, Duncan said. Izuku shrugs as they go to sleep. Vancouver International Airport. When the plane from Japan arrived at Vancouver landed, one of the passengers in particular was very excited to being here. Oh Izu-kun, I'm here, Himiko said with a fanged smile. She chuckles as she skips to her destination. Camp Wawanakwa. We find Chris once again at the dock of shame, ready to make the intro. Last time on Total Drama Island, in a challenge of hide-and-seek, campers had to avoid capture by Sheffit or join his guerrilla tactics to tag fellow campers. Chris said with a grin. Highlights of Chef finding campers were shown. Our resident rule screwing Greenette is making ovaries explode by showing the just how damn of a dad he will be. In the end, however, Lashana won invincibility and Bridget was banished from the island, no thanks to the lovesick Jeff, Chris said as more highlights were shown. Mostly about Izuku losing the challenge and taking Eri to me. Ugh, why we're so impatient, Bridge, Daniel said as she shakes his head. Will the guys other than Izuku trust Jeff again? Will the girls form an alliance? Will I be stuck hosting reality TV for the rest of my life? Find out on this episode of Chris said as he does the last part of the intro. Total Drama Island. Play intro. We find ourselves back at camp where some of the campers are playing frisbee. Those who were Izuku, Owen, DJ, Lashana, and Duncan. Eri was also there watching the action with a small smile. We also see Lindsay and Heather at the docks where Lindsay is trying to kill a fly, only to hit Heather's face. Heather, not being happy about it, hits Lindsay with the fly swatter. That two-faced beach, Lindsay thought. Now make yourself useful and clip my toenails, Heather said as she shows her foot with long nails. Back with the people who were playing frisbee, they heard the sound of Jeff crying. Everyone already knew on what it was. It was Jeff who was crying about Bridget being gone. Oof, sound like Jeff is having a hard time accepting that Bridget is kicked out, Lashana said. TCH, yeah, he's so weak, Duncan said. I'm gonna help him, after all he got me out of my funk when I was sad about Ochako, Izuku said as he leaves to check on Jeff. Hey, super dork, wait up, Duncan said as he and the other guys went with him. Once they were gone, the girls began to speak. Okay, I know the guys aren't that dumb, Izzy said. Oh, they are dumb, they need Jeff's vote, Heather said. With Jeff. Jeff was leaving the confessional booth when Owen caught him. That a boy. Hug it out. Owen said, not knowing her strength. Dude, fuck, you're crushing me, Jeff said as Owen lets go, dropping Jeff on the ground. Sorry, Owen said. Jeff, you okay? Izuku asked, worried about Jeff. Yeah, I'm fine, bro, Jeff said as he stands up. Look man, voting Bridget off was just a strategic move. If the Guy Alliance stands strong, we can win this. So are you in? Duncan said as the rest of the guys' fist bumped. Save for Jeff. He was about to speak when Izuku spoke up. Jeff, I may not know Bridget well, but I'm pretty sure she will kick your ass if you don't give it your all, Izuku said. Jeff shakes his head for a bit before smiling. You're right, hero dude. She would totally kick me ass, Jeff said as he smells the bacon and rushes to get some. I guess he's in, and it's thanks to you, super dork, Duncan said as Izuku smiles. Confessional booth. Beep. Jeff helped me, so I helped him. I owed him one, Izuku said with a smile. Beep. But like all good things, it had to come to an end as Chris spoke. Morning campers, the next challenge awaits you in the Arts and Crafts Center, Chris said. Arts and Crafts Center. We Chris walking by as the camper wait for his word. Welcome to the Arts and Crafts Center, Chris said. More like the Arts and Crafts Center, Duncan said with crossed arms. Yeah, it used to be an outhouse, but now it's where Chef parks his roadhog, Chris said as he kicks down the door. Upon looking inside, he sees a classic-style motorcycle. The boys were excited upon seeing the bike. Beaut, Duncan said with a grin. Awesome, Owen said with a smile on his face. DJ and Cody gave it a thumbs up. Izuku for some reason imagines Ochako in biker attire and himself in a school uniform. The girls not so much. Which brings us to your challenge, building your own wheels, and by that I mean bikes, Chris said. Chris heard some complaints, but Chris puts an end to that. Yeah, I know it's lame, but due to one of us not being of legal age to handle a motor vehicle, we have to stick with bikes, Chris explained. Everyone looked at Izuku, knowing full well that he's the reason that they can't build motorcycles. Sorry, Izuku said. Anywho, you'll find all the parts needed at the bike depot. Once you do, you can trick them out however you want. Best design wins part 1 of the challenge. Oh, and before any of you get any ideas, fuck up Chef's ride and you're disqualified, Chris said as he tosses a moldy bike manual at Heather. You, it's furry, Heather said as she tosses it to Izzy. Cool mold spores, Izzy said. Ugh, freak. We get first dibs, Heather said. Confessional booth. Beep. Finally, a challenge I can get behind. I used to build bikes with my brothers all the time, Duncan said with a fond smile. That was until he frowned. Okay, so I used to steal them from the dweebs from down the street and crash them into the school wall. But the point is, this is something I know, Duncan said. Beep. Owen rummaged at the bike depot as he takes out a pair of handlebars. Hell yeah, I'm gonna make my dream bike, Owen excitedly said as he accidentally hits Lindsay. The fall actually hits Lindsay's AC bracelet, causing it to malfunction. Oh, what the hell? Lindsay said as she notices the damaged bracelet. Lindsay was about to say when Heather grabbed her. Lindsay, see the fancy motorcycle with all the fancy parts? Dismantle it, Heather said. Ah, Heather, did you forget what Chris said? If we touch Chef's bike, it will mean instant disqualification, Lindsay said. So what, it's not like Chris can see us, Heather said. What makes you think that he didn't hide a camera in the shed? Lindsay countered. Heather was about to speak, but realized that she couldn't counter her argument. Her very good argument. It was then that Heather sees broken bracelet. When did it break? Heather thought. How smart are you now? Heather asked. Not a brainiac like my usual self, but still smarter than when the bracelet is fully active, Lindsay said. Good enough for me. How about we build those bikes? Heather said. Sure, I should be able to make a decent pair for the both of us, Lindsay said as she gets the parts needed for the bikes. Confessional booth. Beep. As much as I want to sabotage Heather's bike, I know for a goddamn fact that Chris will do something random, so I'll just build decent bike to satisfy her, Lindsay said. Beep. Oh, we're going in first. You'll just have to wait your turn, or you can save yourselves the trouble and effort and not even bother, Heather said with a smirk on her face. The other girls glare at her, but a seagull takes a dump on Heather's hair. Oh F, not my hair, ah, Heather screamed as she ran. Got to love karma, Katie said. I guess it's payback for her being a bitch, Lashana said. With the boys. The boys were hard at work making their rides. Duncan was making his bike and DJ was making himself some armor. Cody built a frame and Izuku was putting the finishing touches of his bike. Jeff was painting a picture of Bridget and finally Owen was pumping air into his tire only to fart and kill a seagull, possibly the same one that shat on Heather. With the girls were having some trouble, mostly Katie and Lashana. They had some idea on what to do and had the manual to help them out. Izzy, on the other hand. Whoa, how in nine hells did you do that? Lashana said as she sees Izzy's bike, which was made out of wood. Oh, my brother was a mechanic until a villain with a car quirk ran him over and caused him to develop a fear of motor vehicles, Izzy said with a grin. Ooh, sorry about your brother, Lashana said. That's fine, girl, he's recovering in Europe and he takes his bike to work. Come on, let's take it for a spin, Izzy said. All right, you're on, Lashana said. Confessional booth. Beep. That girl might be crazy, but I wasn't about to pass up an opportunity to win this race. Her bike looked fine despite being made out of termite food, Lashana said. Beep. Sweet, your extra weight will totally give us extra speed, Izzy said. I'm gonna take that as a compliment, Lashana said as Izzy smiles. Izzy pedals the bike and goes quite quickly, but they also go down a slope. With Lindsay. Lindsay was hard at work making the bikes for herself and Heather. As she did this, she finds a doll which wasn't flattering at all. Ugh, I'm sure my dumb side would have said something stupid, Lindsay said as she tosses the doll aside and got back to work. With the boys. DJ had just placed a helmet on his head and tested it by head-butting a tree. Satisfied with the helmet, DJ smiles. Hey, do you guys remember your first bike rides? Owen asked. Oh yeah, I wiped out so bad I popped my collarbone. You could see it sticking out of shoulder. I was wicked, Duncan said with a smile. My first bike ride ended with losing 5 of my baby teeth. I got a hell of a payout from the tooth fairy. Best $50 earned, Cody said with a grin. I flew so far over my handlebars that I skid for a mile. Skin was hanging of me in chunks, Jeff said with a small laugh. Well, I might as well say, but I did get a bike, but I never got to ride it as Bakugou blew it up. Then he followed it up by blowing me up, Izuku said. Ooh, that's rough, buddy, Cody said as he patted Izuku's back. Oh, that was nothing, I popped my arm out of my socket. It took 3 doctors to hold me down to slingshot it back into place, Owen said. Ah, good times, Duncan, Owen, Jeff and Cody said at the same time. DJ was speechless but sobered up. Yeah, F that shit, DJ said as he takes off his helmet and replaces it with a knight's helmet. It was then that Chris spoke. Campers, time to judge your bikes. Put your pedal to the metal and meet me at the Crafts Center, Chris said. Arts and Crafts Center. We see Chris about to judge the bikes. Well, campers, we gave you guys the parts, let's see what you came up with, Chris said as he went to Heather. Heather grinned as he complimented the aerodynamics of her bike. It only weighs 2 ounces, Heather proudly said. Like you, brain, Katie spoke back. Chris then walks up to Katie's bike. A bit simple but not bad, Chris said, kite size in relief. He then walks up to Duncan's wheels. Wicked Mad Max mobile dude, Chris said. He then sees Cody's bike. Men, not the worst I've seen, but you can do better, Chris said. Aw man, Cody said. Chris was impressed with Lindsay's bike as well. He also liked Owen's trike. Despite being a tricycle and not a bike, it still counts and it's awesome, Chris said. Yes, Owen said with a grin. He then saw Izuku's bike. This is the most bike-looking bike I've seen thus far. Also glitter, Chris said with a raised eyebrow. Iri wanted to help, and can you say no to that face? Izuku said as shows a photo of Iri's puppy eyes. "No, I can't, my dude," Chris said, admitting that not even he can say no to that face. He then sees DJ's bike, which had training wheels. "Dude, seriously, this is lame," Chris said as he sees an armored DJ. "Well, better to lame than dead," DJ said. "Fair enough," Chris said. Finally, he sees Jeff's bike. "Now this is a hot rod, nice," Chris said as Jeff grins. "Thanks, bro," Jeff said with a tear in his eye. Confessional booth. Beep. "I still miss Bridget. I wish I could have convinced them to vote off Heather, but I suppose it makes sense to vote off my girl. Still fucking sucks though," Jeff said. Beep. "Hey, where's Izzy and Lashana? Oh well, they're lost. Because this is where it gets good, 'cause we are gonna race these babies hard," Chris said with a grin on his. Heather was about to say something, but Lindsay shakes her head. "Here's a twist: you won't using your own bike, but rather you'll be switching them," Chris said. This kind of shocked the campers. "Ha, a cruel twist, am I right? Alrighty then, see you at the beach," Chris said. The beach? Chris was on his ATV holding a helmet while Chef was reading a book and the campers were waiting for him. "Okay, here's how it works. Everyone picks a name out of the helmet whose bike you're riding. If your bike makes it across the finish line, then you get to ride it in the final round for invincibility," Chris said as he explained the challenge. Heather was pissed. No, she got DJ's bike. "Heather, I got your bike," Lindsay said. "Good. Cross the finish line on my bike and then I ride for invincibility," Heather said. "Okay, and if I'm losing, I'll just push the big red button," Lindsay said. "Wait, what?" Heather said as she sees said button. "Now, before we start, has anyone seen Lashana and Izzy?" Chris asked. "With said girls?" The girls were cruising along the river on their bike, somehow. Back at the beach. After getting no's from the other campers, they prepared themselves for the race. "Okay, racers, on your marks, get set. Paramedics on standby and drag," Chris said as the campers raced on. "Hey, where are the pedals?" Izuku said as he noticed a motor on his bike. Upon noticing the motor, he finds a string which led to the skull. Izuku pulls on the thing and goes. "Ah!" Izuku screamed as he zoomed on by. "Hun!" Chris said as he pulls out a tablet. Upon seeing it, he raised an eyebrow. "Chef's bike is intact." "Huh, there must have been a motor on the depot," Chris said. Heather was struggling to use DJ's bike. "Why the flying F did DJ put fucking training wheels on his bike?" Heather said as she kicked the bike, hurting her foot. Meanwhile, Cody was pushing the pedal to the metal with Owen's tricycle, while Duncan rode on the Sunset Sally. "Okay, this is messed up, but yeehaw, this is one moving ride," Duncan said with a wide smile. Lindsay rode up next to him. "I know, right," Lindsay said. Both of them saw a giant sand cloud, and in front of that cloud is Izuku, who was on his 7th lap. "Duncan, how do I stop this thing?" Izuku shouted. Duncan heard this and shouted at him. "Yo, super dork, slam the skull ornament, that will stop you," Duncan shouted as Izuku did just that. This caused the bike to stop after passing the finish line for the 8th time, though it caused him to crash. "Thank you," Izuku shouted. "Well, that happened. Izuku is our first finalist for invincibility," Chris said. "Thank you, Chris," Izuku said, dusting himself off. With Owen and Katie. While Cody was riding on Owen's tricycle, while she rode on Izuku's bike. As she rode on the bike, she sees Owen riding on Cody's bike. All in all, it was looking good, until Owen crashes to ground, destroying the bike. Katie continues on. "Ah, god damn it," Owen said. With DJ. DJ was riding Jeff's bike and making good headway. Jeff rode up with Katie's bike. "Head don't dude, I used the best bolts," Jeff said. Confessional booth. Beep. "Okay, so I forgot the bolts," Jeff said with shrug. Beep. As if Jeff had summoned Murphy, Jeff's bike broke into pieces, making DJ fall down. This in turn made Jeff crashes into DJ and destroys Gwen's bike. "Forgot to wear jock," DJ said. "Damn, that hurt," Jeff said. Unknown to both of them, Heather was rushing in, but like the boys, she crashed as well. Soon, however, several campers crossed the finish line. Chris on his ATV rides up to the finish line to see the winners. Yes, we have 3 awesome wipeouts by Heather, Jeff, Cody, Owen, and DJ, Chris said. Said campers that wiped out came walking to see that the second part is over. Now the ones that are competing are the following: Lindsay's Sunset Sally, Heather's Speed Machine, Owen's Super Trike, Duncan's Lethal Weapon, Katie's Stylish Bike, and Izuku's Mighty Bike, Chris said as the campers that are racing cheered. Chef whistled to calm the campers down. All right then, now it's time for the TDI motocross, Chris said as he leaves. Okay, now what? Lindsay asked. Now we just need to win the next part of the challenge. So bring your game on, all right, Heather said as Lindsay nods. Meanwhile, with Lashana and Izzy. "Oh shit," Lashana said as both she and Izzy left a thorn field behind them. "Ha ha ha," Izzy laughed as she rides on. The chipmunk on Lashana's head falls off. Back with the campers. We find the campers without bikes sitting atop a hill while the ones with bikes ready to race. "Wow, sweet wheels. Also sorry about hurting you earlier, are you alright?" Owen asked. "I'm fine, Owen, though I'll admit my time in TDI is gonna be over soon," Lindsay said. Duncan was about to pull Owen's ear when he heard that tidbit. "What you mean, Lindsay?" Heather said, getting mad. "I'm technically using my quirk, meaning I'm gone once the challenge is over," Lindsay said. Campers, welcome to the motocross challenge. Using your own bikes, you'll race the course avoiding hidden pitfalls. Cue the death traps, Chris said. "Ah, death traps," Owen said. "First, there's dodging the landmines. Second, maneuvering through the oil slick, and finally jumping the piranhas," Chris said as all 3 traps are demonstrated. The campers gasped while Izuku raised an eyebrow. How replace the piranhas pool and oil slick with a giant chasm and a horde of giant robots, and it would be like the UA Sport Festival obstacle course, Izuku said. "Ah, what?" Chris dumbly asked. Confessional booth. Beep. How in 9 miserable fucks is that even legal? Also, I wonder if the rat bastard would give me some of those 0 pointers, Chris said. Somehow Nezu hijacked the signal of TDI to broadcast his own confessional. "I'll be sure to ask my legal team, but I believe I can," Nezu said. No wonder my boss's plan is to surrender when Nezu tries to take over the world," Chris said. "Hey, I'd say it's a pretty solid plan, hell, I even joined Nezu's army," Chef said. Beep. Back at the beach. Chris decided to get back on track. Oh, and one more thing. The first one to cross wins invincibility, and the last one to cross gets the boot. No bonfire, do not pass go, and do not collect the marshmallow, Chris said, shocking the campers. With no signal needed, they were off. They all pedaled like their lives depended on it, which may have might be. When they reached the minefield, Owen blew up, making him lose. Duncan, Katie, and Heather survived all while both Lindsay and Izuku flew across it. Then came the oil slick. This is where Duncan lost due to his bike somehow sinking into the oil. Lindsay took the lead, and thanks to the moptail of her bike, Izuku, Katie, and Heather passed by safely. Once they began to reach the piranha pool, Izuku and Katie got through. Heather got stuck, and Lindsay, due to her increased brain power due to her broken act bracelet, simply went around the pool. This led to Izuku winning the challenge. "And we have our winner, Izuku," Chris said. "Yes, I did it," Izuku said with a smile. "Oh, my baby, he did it," Inko said as she cried. Iri, who had an umbrella, smiled. "Papa is the best," Iri said. The campers that didn't participate in the final race cheered for Izuku, while Heather screamed like a little bitch. "Katie, Lindsay, sorry to say, but you're both eliminated," Chris said. Katie was confused, but Lindsay nods. "As for why, it's simple, Lindsay, you've been using your quirk. Granted, it was in a lesser form, but you still used it in a non-quirk challenge, meaning you're disqualified. Katie, with Lindsay gone and the others haven't crossed the finish line," Chris said. "Meaning I was technically the last one to cross, meaning I lost," Katie said. "Yup," Chris said. "Say, Chris, since I lost, can you get this off of me?" Lindsay said as she shows the broken act bracelet. "Sure," Chris said with a shrug as he deactivated the act bracelet. Lindsay, with her intelligence returning, she turns to Heather. "Well then, before I'd like that, you are a total bitch. So much so that I'm surprised you would be able to attract dogs, let alone people." Lindsay said. What die? Heather started to say, but Lindsay ignored her. In all of my short life, I have never met such a low-life, two-timing backstabbing beach-ass slut, who couldn't even think out of a effing paper bag. A skank with a peanut-sized brain could come up with better ideas than you. You just a mother effing twat who blew the producer's dick just to be on the show. I'd rather be staring at Owen's ass and Izzy's tits than look at slutly beach-ass face, Lindsay said as she starts walking away. Heather and everyone was left speechless at Lindsay's rant. But suddenly she turns around to get one last word. Oh, by the way, your shoes are tacky, your shorts are shit, and that top so 2007, Lindsay said as she walked away with her head held up high. It was then that Chris found his voice. Hey Katie, Chris said. Yeah, Katie said. Could you give this to Lindsay? Chris said as he hands Katie the platinum camper. Katie nods as follows Lindsay. Holy shit, Duncan said. I think I'm in love, Owen said with a blush. Dock of shame. Everyone was there to say goodbye to Lindsay and Katie. Thanks for your support, guys. I love you, Lashana. Owen, Izzy, I know it's not the best time, but I really like the both of you. As in like you guys, Lindsay said. Oh, I do too, girl. I thought I'd had to be the mistress, but a polycule is good, Izzy said as she gives Lindsay a kiss. After parting lips, she was then kissed by Owen. Oh, F yeah, Lindsay said with a dopey grin. Take care, girlfriend. If it makes you feel better, we would have kept you on, Lashana said. I know. Have you said your goodbyes, Katie? Lindsay asked. I did, and it was awesome, Katie said with a grin. Then Cody walked right up, face filled with lipstick marks on his face. Yeah, awesome, Cody said with a grin of his own. Guys, do me a solid and whoop Heather's ass for me, all right, Lindsay said. It would be my effing pleasure, Lashana said with a smile. Heather, I hope you get everything karma gives you, Lindsay said as she gets on boat of losers. Katie does the same, only to squeal when she sees her friend Sadie was on the boat. Soon they leave as Lindsay and Katie rides off towards the sunset. Later that night, hiding within the forest was Himiko, having just seen everything, and like the other, she was stunned. God damn, Siggy's gonna be so jelly when he hears that I heard the uncensored version of this episode, Himiko said, shocked at hearing what Lindsay said about Heather. As she sees Izuku get to bed, Himiko couldn't help but smile. Just you wait, Izuku-kun. We'll be together soon, Himiko said as she giggles. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 5. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Firem78910 on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.